that's actually when Bill Clinton, he came up there and visited. When he visited Denmark, that was insane. That's when I first got to see security.
Like on the highest.
On the highest level, because obviously they had their big black SUVs with, you could see cutouts on the roof to get the extra firepower, the Vulcans and stuff like that. They had big ass bodyguards with, like, they were just fully kitted. It was insane.
Hello and welcome. Today I'm here with Tomas. And Tomas is coach and a friend of mine, I can say.
Yeah.
And Tomas has a very interesting history of military service and some private contracting kind of stuff. And that's kind of the main topic I want to talk. We're not going to talk much about squats and deadlifts today.
Appreciate that.
But we can also get into this.
I've had plenty of them this morning.
Yeah, there you go. So let's just start with where you come from. What was your upbringing like? What was your sport like when you were a child? Where you led to a sport? What kind of athletic background do you have?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. Well, I'm Danish. I've lived here in about... Oh, sorry, yeah.
Good.
That microphone.
Yeah.
I've been in the UAE for the last 12 years. And it's been quite a... When I think about it, been many chapters of my life in various countries. But I'd say that my life kind of started in Denmark. But then it didn't, because my parents were working for an airline company. So we were stationed abroad quite a lot for many years. And I think the most stable part of my life, when I say stable, it wasn't unstable.
So you're moving a lot?
I was moving a lot with them. And so I lived in Thailand and Japan and Sweden, of all places, before I actually settled down back in Denmark.
And what was their role? What were they doing?
They were just working for an airline company. They're like stewardesses, but back then it was like a totally different job compared to today, where you'd be stationed somewhere and you'd fly out of that place, because nowadays, well, the planes can go around the world almost without any stopping. Yeah. Back then they had to stop. Like if you wanted to go to Japan from Denmark, you had to go through Anchorage and in Alaska, and then settled down in Japan. So they had to stop everywhere. So, and they had quite a few Far East destinations. So Thailand was one of those places where they would stop. And so I lived there for 2 years when I was young.
So you got to know the world.
Yes, I'd say that. But I was through a young person's eyes, like a child. And then when I was 8, that's when we got back to Denmark. And I would say that that's probably the most... That's my base. That was my base back then.
That's what you consider home?
Yes. I mean, back then, yes. Now, not so much.
Okay.
Yeah, but you'll see.
You'll get it.
No, so I had a very normal upbringing. Parents divorced. But I found my stepdad came into my life when I was 4 years old and was there until a few years back. So... one of those childhoods where you find... I lived in an area that was quite safe, I'd say. I could bike. I was out playing with all the kids from the streets, my neighbors and stuff like that. We could bike around. There wasn't any, like today, where you're a bit more paranoid and cautious and this and that. I don't think you have that kind of upbringing anymore, to be fair. Well, I'm almost 50 now, so... I'm sure that people have experienced the same kind of, but when I think back, I'm kind of sad that my kids haven't been able to experience the same thing.
That kind of freedom, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of freedom. But I think also the attitude towards, kids being outside and play was very different back then. More laissez-faire, more like, as you said, more free.
I had it... Maybe not as kind of independent, but still fairly independent. It's like summer holiday, you just like, you leave home at 8, you come at 8, you know, and whatever happens in between, parents rather don't know. You know?
That's true. That was so true. Yeah, no, exactly. But that's how it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Back then. I mean, there are certain communities here in the UAE where you can, I feel safe that my kid can go out somewhere or just bike around. But still, I mean, people drive like mad. Yeah. They do. And and even when I drive around and I see kids on the electric scooters without helmets, I was like, oh God, do your parents know that? What
Yeah.
So,
but did you have a helmet when you were a kid?
Right? No, of course I didn't.
Exactly.
That was the weird. Back then, I would be driving when my parents were driving. I would be standing in the middle of the seats, looking out. And I was like.
People with helmets were the weird ones.
Exactly. Hang on, does he have a disability or something like that? Sorry, but that's what comes to mind.
But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But nowadays, I get all, really, you should actually have a helmet on. Do you know how dangerous this is? I mean, you get older and you're wise and you see the accidents and, oh God, all these things. But anyways, I digress. So I had a good upbringing, I think. I was happy. I feel I was happy about that. But you never know, really. I mean, if you don't know anything else, then you don't have too much to compare it to.
Yeah. And did you do any sports?
Plenty of sports. So I played ice hockey for almost 7 years. And I did various martial arts like karate, Shotokan karate, and jiu-jitsu. I preferred jiu-jitsu by far.
Like Brazilian? Or
traditional jiu-jitsu, yes.
Right, nice.
Brazilian hadn't actually come to Denmark by then. There wasn't any grappling or anything like that.
But it's more rare these days to see the original
It
one.
is, for sure. Everybody wants to be like the Gracies,
Yeah.
But I really preferred it because the Shotokan karate was very rigid to some extent. It was like, do your katas and that's it. And then, a little bit fighting, but not much. But I know there were other styles back then, but I wasn't introduced to that. And that's why I really felt that jiu-jitsu was much more usable. Even in my everyday life as a kid, if I was falling, do a proper roll and stuff like that. You get pushed and you fall back and you do that, arms out, try to hit the back, those kind of things. When I'm not saying I was using my jiu-jitsu as a kid for everybody, and I wasn't fighting a lot because I was not. I think I was the first one to run if there was any chance. Anything, on the uprise of a fight, I was like, let's go, let's run.
Well, that's the best self-defense anyway, right? Because you 100% avoid the injury.
Yeah, that's true.
Once you're in the fight, it's still like, Jocko Willink?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Jocko is saying that, right? He's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's really promoting it.
Yeah,
I think him
and his daughter.
Yeah, like him and Joe Rogan probably did more for promotion of Jiu-Jitsu than anybody else.
Oh, God.
And he will tell you, like, why rather Jiu-Jitsu than striking sport? Because if you're in a striking distance, you can still run away.
Yeah.
And that's your first response. That is, because what is the goal of the self-defense situation? Well, to come out of healthy and not injured. So running away is the first option.
Yeah.
But you can't run away if somebody grabs you. And that's where the jiu-jitsu comes in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I felt more confident. And I think that is one of the things that martial art promotes, isn't it? Or it just... you get more confident. And that's one of the things you say, you want kids to get in there, get some discipline and grow some confidence. And that's exactly what happens. And I can't say that enough. I would wish every young kid had some kind of martial art experience, because it does give you a lot of, not only coordination, but social skills as well. If it's a proper place, they'll have a good social network there.
Also, just that aspect of being used to a physical contact, because that's missing a lot, right? They don't know what is enough, what is too much.
Yeah.
But there you have it straight away. If you push too much, you know it. If it's not enough, you know it.
I remember we had the choke out, not a competition, but a choke out. We were introduced to choke holds. You learn really quickly what is too much and too little.
For sure.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah.
Sometimes the hard way. Yeah.
Oh God, yes. But the good thing about it, when you wake up, you're not having any headaches or anything like that. It's just like
it's controlled.
And then you come up again. But
and then you do it like
of course, you gotta get to that limit so you know exactly how it is. And the thing is, it is interesting for if you are being choked out, you you get to that point where you're like, shit, it's happening now. It's bam. You know, you get not used to, but you get to know that those few steps before what and then you're out.
Yeah,
you know, you kind of know that all of a sudden you know what's coming. So if you want to do something, you got to do it now. If you're not,
you know how much is left, kind of.
Yeah,
you know, like
exactly.
If it's still 5 seconds or
exactly.
There's nothing.
Yeah, no,
left.
It's interesting. It was interesting, and it still is. Not that I practice jiu-jitsu so much more anymore. I haven't done it for many years now.
I'll take you.
You want to choke me out? Is that what you're saying?
I invite you for a choke session.
Fantastic. Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
No, actually, well, we were talking about me trying to get into jiu-jitsu again. Yeah, I'd love to, actually. I do miss that physical contact. And I was going to... That's one of the things that's gone through my... been a constant in my life in terms of... Well, it's just, you got to... If you don't know how far you can go, you don't know your own limits. And again, if you've never been punched in the face, you don't know what to expect. The first time you like, ow.
Yeah.
The shock is just...
You know that movie Hooligans? It was with the guy who played Frodo. I think he was there as a main character.
No, unfortunately, I didn't see
anyway,
that one.
I think it's British. And anyway, there is this scene where he's like, through his brother-in-law or something, he's like involved in a hooligan fight. A guy from US came to UK and he's involved in a West Ham United versus...
it rings a bell. It does ring a bell, but...
And there's this scene where, it's like a cut scene of all the fighting scenes he's experiencing. And he's like, after a couple of punches, you'll find out you're not made of glass.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can take.
And you can.
Yeah.
It's just that shock. And as with any training, and like whether it be like drawing a gun from a holster or shooting or the recoil that comes from it, those kind of first experiences, every time, the more you practice, the better you get at it. At the same thing, I mean, I don't want you to get better at getting hit in the face. You don't have to block with your face, but you won't get that same kind of, you might take it and then you're straight in there again. I mean, depending on how hard and, you're not being knocked out.
Obviously.
Yes. But that initial, I got hit in the face, ow, that goes away quite quickly.
One thing that most people haven't describe when they actually experience real life self-defense situation is that they are shocked by the level of violence. Yeah, like they're just pure shock of how bad the other person wanted to hurt me. And it shocks them. It always is like, oh my God, I really did it. Because you see it on the videos, you see it in the movies. Movies probably like mess it up a lot for us. Like you don't see it realistically. Yeah. Same thing goes to shooting and all that, right? But the pure shock of, oh my God, I didn't expect this will be so violent is one common factor that all these people who experience it for the first time have.
Yeah.
Like they just didn't know it can go to that level.
Yeah, but also, luckily, most people are totally oblivious to it, and they will never experience it. But when they do, it's a massive shock, and sometimes it's a trauma. It becomes a trauma, because that is just so far out of their own realm, and that they'd never experienced that, or they'd never thought what was going to go through this. Or they were going to go through this, and happened to them, and then they only see it on movies
or in the news. That it happens
it's more on the news now more than ever, right? Isn't it? So one of the reasons why I don't really follow the mainstream news so much.
Me neither. I just know that like I was more mentioning it in the sense of that they think that this is the kind of stuff that never happens to me until it does.
Exactly. And that's where we can go back to what we talked about before the podcast started.
The preparation.
The preparations. There being a not a doomsday prepper, but just an EDC, an everyday carry bag, like a bug out bag. Should something happen, then you are prepared.
Yeah.
And you have these things. And, so one of the things throughout my adult years, I always, when I went into a bar or something like that, or a club, don't club that much anymore. I've been seen out twice, something like that this year. So no, but it always sits in me like I'm looking around, I'm scanning, looking to see if what the mood is about the doorman. How is he? Is he annoyed, or does he seem like he's on top of everything? That's the first indication when you come in, doorman, and then you look in. Okay, what's the bar situation? What people? The mood in general, and then look for exits. And my girlfriend and I, we've had
never sit back to the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
normal
like
thing.
for us, basic, right?
Yeah, but. Why are you going scanning? Are you scanning for other ladies, or what's going on? What do you have to go away and just stay with the group? And so, sorry, I just need to see what's out there. So if I don't know the layout, then I just have a quick look to see where are the exits and is there a kitchen and stuff like that. I can't go into the kitchen. But then usually there is an exit from the kitchen. Usually, but anyways, that's just always like since my adult years and training and stuff like that. Small, simple things that can save lives, because when something happens, where do you think everybody goes? Out the same way they came in.
Yeah.
As soon as unless they actually think.
If they can go. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. If they can. And that's when you just need to okay, well, I'm in this area and I saw an exit there. Let's try that. Or there was a door, all these things. But again, being looked upon as, you're such a weirdo, man. What? Come on, nothing's going to happen. Maybe not, but in my mind, I've got peace of mind. And, if something happens, I can get my loved ones away. That's my mindset. Would I be able to? Well, I'll trying.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you're still at least that one step ahead, that you already have some kind of scenario. Contingency scenario in the head. I can tell towards this, I experienced it first time probably, maybe in a minor episodes also back in Slovakia in some shopping centers, but first time full on, that feeling of being completely overwhelmed, like a heat rush and so on, very unpleasant feeling of discomfort in Dubai Mall. Yeah, when it was very crowded and very busy. Yeah. And I was like, why is this happening? Why, I still didn't get it. And I was talking about it with a couple of people. I was talking about it with my brother, and then one friend who he was British Royal Marine. Yeah. He had 2 tours in Afghanistan, and let's say he has shitload of experience, and he was dealing with the PTSD as well. Okay. And then I start to look into it. We start to kind of digging into what is it happening, because for example for him going to Dubai Mall is near impossible without going close to triggering the PTSD, triggering the panic feelings.
There's too many people and unknown areas.
Exactly. And what we basically came up to, if you have this kind of mindset of observing, when somebody is crossing, you're looking at the face and you're always looking the triangle of mouth and eyes, so you're looking how the cheeks are relaxed, how the eyes are they scanning or are they relaxed? Is he smiling or is it forced smile? Is the mouth open? And you scan all this automatically, evolutionary, just basically assessing danger. Is this person angry or is
risk assessment?
Exactly. Yeah. But imagine that you have 1,000 people passing you that day. It gets extremely overwhelming for brain because you're trying to assess everything. And then that friend of mine, he was telling me he was in a situation, I didn't get that close to this extreme, but somebody accidentally bounced into him and he almost attacked because he was so much on the edge and he didn't understand.
If he's already in that No, like fight or flight mode. Then
Exactly.
it doesn't take much.
It wasn't the neocortex wasn't there anymore.
Rational gone.
The rational brain was gone, and he was only acting on the instincts. So this is the thing in evolution. Like, let's say 10,000 years ago, as our species, we met 150 people in a lifetime. And now you go to mall and you meet 2,000. So it's overwhelming. If you're completely ignorant to your environment, you get away with it, because you do only you, and
Exactly.
However, that's when you are trained in a certain way. I was 3 to 5 years, I was ingrained in my brain, always aware of environment, always checking everything, tested on it.
But you know what?
Right.
Some of that training is that sticks. And I haven't done any security for 13 years, something like that. I still scan. Every time I go on an airplane, I check, is my life jacket here? Okay, where am I? Where are the exits? Okay, great. I don't need the cabin crew to tell me you've got this and this and then.
You got it before they show you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And get on a ferry. Where are the lifeboats? Where are the exits? Because that's an even a ferry. How often are you on a ferry? Most of us fly 2-3 times a year.
Yeah.
So we are kind of used to where are the exits and stuff like that. But get on a ferry, it's a totally different ball game, because depending on how big that ferry is, or if it's like a yacht, okay, fine, that's manageable. But how does that? I'm going into the extreme. How does it work? If I'm the only one here, how does this lifeboat work?
Yeah.
Can I release it? Is there anything? What do I need to do?
Where's the string to pull?
Yeah. A magic string. But true. But and again, get on that ferry. Where are you sitting? Where's the lifeboat? All these things, the exits, because the ferries are built differently with a weird layout sometimes. And if you're not used to being on big vessels, then it can be challenging. So. But check these things so you know how it works. Should anything happen, and now those are the things that I'm happy that I've learned. So that should anything happen, at least, as you say, I have prepared myself, and I know what to do. And you've got kids with you and or family with you, then you have an obligation to protect that family, and possibly even other people around you.
Who else is going to do it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no.
I would actually object against what you said, because you said I didn't practice any of this security stuff for 13 years. Well, if you think like this, you're practicing every day. Yeah, because that's what it is about the prevention.
But what I mean is, it's not. I haven't been active.
I know what you meant.
On an assignment or anything like that. So where I was obligated to this.
Well, that was your job.
Yeah, that was my job. So it was always on. And that was one of the things that coming back from a mission or an assignment, just trying to wind down. It's just it was hard in the beginning because I didn't know how to switch off. But
okay,
we get into that.
We'll get there,
I'm jumping.
So, we already kind of said that you went into military.
So in Denmark, there's you need to do the military at least for a year. Well, it's 6 months. Depending on what kind of branch you get into. Back in the days, it's changed. Okay, I believe it's been a while since I got out. But we've got this. So you get drafted in, and but if you choose, if you go in and say I don't need to be drafted, I'm choosing this. This part of the Navy or the Army or the Air Force. A specific branch or whatever, then you get preferential. They'll let you go there if you have an idea what you want to do. Then they'll let you do it. If it's just the normal army or whatever. So I went into something called the Queen's Guard or the Royal Queen's Guard, which is basically the Queen's army, or not the army. We protect the Queen. So all the castles. And all these things, we have on a yearly basis, we have 3 months where we protect the castles, and we do protection like that. Just like you see the changing of the guards in the Queen's Palace in England. We have exactly the same thing.
Okay. But I heard that those who are there, these are not the actual guards. These are there for tourists, and there is the actual guards, but they don't look like that, and they are like in the back room on the security cameras and all that. So you're more of the.
So there are police there, but we are definitely there for the same thing. Our rifles are loaded, and
you were like standing by the gate as well, like that kind of stuff.
We are. Okay. Obviously, the most well known is Amalienborg, which is in Copenhagen, and they have the changing of the guards, just like the Queen in England has it. So. But I know that there's a few people. You don't have ammo. They don't have any. That's just for show. It certainly isn't. And there's been a few incidents. So back in the days, when I say back in the days, it sounds like fucking 1914. But that's what I think about. But when we were in there, we were not allowed. Obviously, we were instructed to shoot on the lower part of the body after the legs, if we could. If we had to shoot, if there was an instant where it was like, okay, now we shoot. And there was a lot of steps before that even happened.
Yeah.
There was no bullet in the chamber. We have to load it first, of course, like racket. And then, there's a verbal commands, many of them. And then by then the sergeant would come out of, because we were like maybe 20 or 25, in a rotation. Mm-hmm. And we'd be, of the 25, maybe, I can't remember how long, I think maybe about 7 or 8 people on guard at one, for 2 hours. Yeah.
So like a shift.
It's a shift. Yeah, it's a shift. Which is nice during the, let's say, not the winter and not the summer, because
right in between.
Right in between. That's the best time to be there, because in wearing that, we have a massive bear's hat on, or a bear helmet, a bear skin helmet. It's really tall, and it's heavy. I mean, and it gets really, really hot, and it's been like. I can't. If I say a number now, how many degrees? But it has been a few of them have. It's been tested a few times how hot it actually gets on a summer's day. So if it gets over a certain level, then we're allowed to change into a normal. What do you call it? Like it's a small hat.
Okay, some beret.
No, not even a beret. It's like. It's like an envelope hat,
Yeah. I know.
I believe that was what it was. Yeah, I know. It's been so long, but
And just let me ask a quick question here. You said you are in there for like 2 hours.
Yeah, so 2 hours. I believe.
What do you think about? Like you're supposed to just be stationary. You don't know how time is passing because you don't even know how to look at the watch, right?
I can tell you one thing. It depends on where you were. So because it's something called in Danish called postforgevær. That's kind of the highest ranking of all the soldiers in the inner square. So all of them have to walk in a certain pattern at the same time.
Okay.
Right? So there's that to think about while you're scanning the area to see if there's anything. But as the highest ranking, you can walk your own path, or like you can start and stop whenever you want to, which wasn't always great because you could get lost in your thoughts sometimes. You'd be looking at the other guys. Okay, yeah, everything is good. Yeah, because if I didn't, you can't really speak, and we're not allowed to speak unless we are hailing somebody in terms of like step away from the stairs, because we got stairs. People are free to walk in there, in a court, and
but you're kind of keeping an order there.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. And if people want to take pictures inside the windows, and they step up to some steps, and that's when you have to react. Well, one of the times, and then I get back to we're only allowed to shoot at the lower part of the body. But I mean, if you're like 50 meters away and trying to aim for lower part of the body.
Guess what you're hitting?
That is really, really hard. But at the same time, because if we went any lower, that was the dangerous part, because it's cobblestones in there. Okay. So they would just ricochet, and that's happened a few times actually.
You had an incident?
No, not in any of my let's say guarding days, tours.
Days. Yeah.
But it was, and that's why they said, okay, we want to shoot the lower part, but don't go for the, don't go like from knee and down if you can, because the bullets will actually hit and then ricochet up somewhere and might hit the building, and you shouldn't shoot anything you're not willing to shoot through. You need to check the background before
the backstop.
Yeah. There's a window that took that bullet. That's good. Didn't go very far.
Who was behind the window?
Who's looking out? No. So, but as I said, it also depends on what you. To come back to your question, what are we thinking about? Well, obviously that's kind of hard, but there are certain. So the inner court, they had a lot of things to look at all the time. Mm-hmm. But if you're walking in the gardens that are on the other side of the building, there are small paths you can walk on. You have to walk on, and back when the Queen's mother was alive, Dronning Ingrid, she had this funny thing when she was bored. I speak. I mean, it's happened twice in my time there.
Okay.
But I won't say if she got bored, but let's just say that she could hear, because we have metal on our boots. So there's this click, 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 click. So I can imagine that if something, and she's been used to that for years, obviously, because she lives there. And then sometimes she would call the master sergeant on guard and say, you have one of your soldiers walking out of tempo. So she would rat on the soldiers not following because they have certain paces to walk, and if they were out of pace, then apparently, so everybody's obviously
good hearing, huh?
I mean, they could hear.
She has a metronome in her head.
I know it happened twice over the years, and only once when I was doing it. And that was actually not in Amalienborg, but people knew about this. So they were so on it, because if you get that, you would get like
you have like a big trouble for that.
Yeah, you'd be in the and also the shit you would get for all the other guys, that. Anyways, but that was in particular something that would happen in another castle up north called Fredensborg. That's like a summer residence for them, or one of them. They have quite a few castles around Denmark. But that's actually when Bill Clinton, he came up there and visited. When he visited Denmark, that was insane. That's when I first got to see security.
Like on the highest.
On the highest level, because obviously they had their big black SUVs with you could see cutouts on the roof to get the extra firepower, the Vulcans and stuff like that. They had big ass bodyguards with they were just fully kitted. It was insane what they had in the cars, because I mean they would be up there and you'd be stationed there for a week before and after, because they didn't want to change anything while he was there visiting. So it was kind of a different setup back then, but that was insane. And they were just so and they are so cool, and can I speak to them? And you were really.
And who were they? Like, was it FBI?
I don't honestly.
Some presidential guards.
They were presidential guards.
Okay.
And I'm sure there was also other...
some secret guys.
There was really secret squirrels around there. And listen, we were just ordinary soldiers. We weren't privy to anything.
Okay.
But you could just see them coming in their SUVs with the car, with his limo there, and then you could also tell that limo was very heavy.
Okay.
So it
wasn't moving too fast there.
No. I mean, and that was really kitted out as well in terms of like protection. You could just see that.
Okay.
That's why it's so heavy in terms of like. Well, it is a bulletproof car, and it has all these protective measures and stuff like that installed, as I found out just by reading about it.
Yeah.
But no, that was my first time getting really...
You're not testing it, right? How bulletproof is it?
Grenade. No, certainly not.
Did you get to see him?
Yeah, he was there. I got to see a brief when I walked from the car to the entrance of yes, but that was it. I mean, nothing like, hey, how are you? No, no. I was a grunt.
Well, you were on a duty, so
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I was a grunt, and then it was interesting nonetheless. It was really interesting to see. And even though, I mean, that was something we would do for 3 months of the year, something like that. And then we'd go into green. That would be the green series is when we would train for everything that has to do with normal army military training.
What was your physical prep that time?
In terms of working out and getting
what was the regime in this kind of prep? Because you said you did martial arts before,
yes,
and how it why you actually decided to go to army, or because it was you had to do the military service?
I had to do something. You were drafted, and I thought, hang on, I wanted to go in. Mm-hmm. I've always been interested in the military, and to be fair, I like the regimented, this is what we're doing now, and then stick to that, and then
the discipline. This
discipline has always been good for me, and that's why I'm totally eating up everything Jocko Willink is serving out, because discipline is freedom.
Yep.
And I truly believe in that.
100%.
And then people say discipline is freedom. Why? It's the opposite. You haven't understood what discipline actually is.
Yeah.
I mean, for your mind and everything else, it opens up for everything. If you can do that, then you can learn so much more as well. Anyways, I digress.
That's fine.
So in the army back then, there was no martial arts. It was the closest thing we would get to hand-to-hand combat was boxing.
Okay.
That was what we. So the best people equipped to teach the boxing back then were the military police. And then they came in and they taught us boxing, and there was a few judo teachers around, but as a grunt, we were not prepared for anything close combat at all.
Okay.
That wasn't really boxing was more, I would say, not so much self-defense. It was more about keeping fit.
Mm-hmm.
So what we call now PT was called FUT, physical education training.
Okay.
And there was a lot of running, a lot of sit-ups and pull-ups and all very basic stuff.
So basic calisthenics.
Yes,
and shit ton of running.
Yes, exactly. And they were really happy about, what's it called? When what's it called? Oh, I forget that now. When you run and you have to run from post to post, so you have a compass.
Oh yeah, the orientation.
Orientation, yes, yeah. And that was really good because everybody got to learn how to use a compass, and even now. So
I wish I had training in this.
That is when and if shit goes down, then compass is your friend.
I had it at school, at uni, but we didn't have training in it. We only were tested in it.
Yeah.
Like they took us to a nature and it's like, today we do it running. This is how the compass works. This is your map. And you're like, what? So we literally got 15-minute briefing.
Oh, wow. And then
and then next day you go and you need to figure out or you don't pass.
Yeah.
And this following the same on the bicycles.
Yeah.
Because there's bike tracks in the mountains. And it's like, you can imagine to what degree we were cheating it.
Yeah, of course.
One out of 40 knew how to do it. Everybody behind you.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. And also, if the teachers are very lazy, they'll just go to an area that, they're not going outside that area you've been born.
Yeah, they were just waiting on their post.
Yeah, no, but also that, you have that area, you get into the area, but it's actually your neighborhood. So you know where things are, already. It's not like you...
Oh, no, we were pulled into mountains.
Oh, were you? Okay,
yeah.
Okay, so...
This was complete unknown environment. Honestly...
Really safe.
Yeah, very good, very good. I remember because we had, of course, modern technology helped a lot, right?
Yeah.
So we were you had these clickers. So it's basically imagine 3x3 pins.
Yeah,
and every pin has a different pattern. So some of them are empty, but some of them are sharp.
Yeah.
And you have this 3x3 square with pins.
Yeah.
And one of them will make a cross and one of them will make a T. And you need to click every position you reached.
So you put it in the lap and then you click that.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
So we just needed to figure out what the pattern is, have a pin and pin the paper, right? Yeah. So we were just taking pictures. And then, stupid us, we also had a time limit, but we couldn't make it too obvious as well. And then we underestimated the last 500 meters to get back to the camp.
Okay.
And I remember we were running and it was mud. It was raining. It was the biggest flood in Europe in last 50 years when we were there. And we were running and I just hear a friend of mine in front like, I lost a fucking shoe, And I just looking at there's his shoe deep down in the mud. So I just grab it, keep running. He was running without sock because he lost it there somewhere. Finished barefoot, just
wow.
There's your shoe. Yeah. So that's why I said I wish I had a training because I was only tested in it and it was very stressful.
Yeah. And then you actually don't remember anything of it, of the training of it, really.
Yeah, I don't believe that the best way to teach somebody is to put them under insane pressure.
No.
Yeah, give them time to figure out, give them time to have fun with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that didn't happen.
Yeah,
so,
nah. It needs to be taught, learning, playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with throwing kids into the pool. Hey, learn to swim.
Yeah.
I mean, they might learn to swim, but
they will also learn how to
never forget that.
Yeah, they will learn to hate water as well.
Probably they won't be happy about it. That's for sure. Yeah. But they'll swim.
That's the thing, right? What is the objective? Do you want people to like the activity, or you just want them to do it?
Yeah.
If you want them just to do it, throw them. Yeah. But if you want them to actually, because if they would do it in a way that we will like it, we would probably, at least for me, I would be interested in doing it more.
Yeah, but I also think it's about how well you retain it. I mean, it's something that you've kept doing, playing, doing. Then it kind of, should sit a little bit better than if you'd frantically fighting for your life, trying to not to drown the first time around. Second time you're going. Not really.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. Yeah.
So you did a lot of
we did a lot of
orienteering.
that was it. And then that's actually when so this is the good thing. Oh, there are many good things about the Danish army. But back then, I keep saying back then because I don't know how things have evolved, to be fair. But we had, or maybe it's just the company that I was in, where the company commander was just one of those special, wanted to teach or give people the opportunity to do something else and new things. But obviously, so when I got in, I got assigned to 81 millimeter mortar, mobile mortar, and
okay,
yeah, and so that was fine. I mean, I liked it, and we were happy about having 3 Land Rovers to drive in, and then that was really good fun. Until we were actually out on exercises, and then all of a sudden, the vehicles they are being immobilized. We have to move 5 kilometers that way. We have to set up mortars there. Okay, so those the barrel itself weighs 15, 18 kilos. On top of it's called a collie. A collie is 3 grenades. It's a pack with 3 grenades. Mm-hmm. and that weighs about, I believe I remember it to be 8 kilos.
Okay.
And so so I would have a section commander bag, a tool bag essentially, with the little reticle where I could guide. Like we would, so the mortars are
like the scope kind of for the thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have 2 pins like at 50 and 100 meters out, and they need to align precisely. Then you know that your barrel is actually aligned and equal and calibrated. But I had to look through this little scope. So I was carrying that. I was carrying spare pins for the grenade, or for the what do you call it? A pin.
The launcher.
For the pin, exactly. Yeah, that one. So because that tended to break sometimes, and anyways, that was another 10 kilos. So we would carry around 40 to 50 kilos extra on top of our backpacks and shit like that. That was a lot. And then obviously it was always through like the most cumbersome terrain, like branches there, and like that was really, I mean, it was fun at times, but it was also something that I look back and say, shit. But hey, we learned how to walk, that's for sure. And then already going there, we were thinking, fuck, we got to go home back home the same way, you know. So we knew what we had in store for us. But it was fun. I mean, we were, as I said, it wasn't too cumbersome in terms of like doing that as a profession, because we would shoot, rest for a bit, and then shoot again and rest.
Okay. And how was this intertwined with your guard duties?
So we would always have, the guard duties was we were taking out of rotation completely. So when you're guarding, you're taking out rotation.
So this was kind of happening at the same time?
Yeah.
You were just like, okay, so now you're here, and then now you're here.
Exactly.
And they were just moving you according to where you were needed.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so green depending on if you were a winter soldier or a summer soldier, that's how they got you in. Then you would be...
based on when you enrolled?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Winter soldier.
Yeah, no, there's nothing
like
to do with the movie.
Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you would be, I think you would be doing once a year in the summer and then twice a year in the winter if you came in as a summer soldier. Mm-hmm. But to be fair, I truly preferred the winter time more. It was because you could always, you would be sweating but as long as you had layers on, it was good.
Yeah.
Summer, Jesus Christ. I mean, even when they told, you can sleep now. No. You'd be sweating, mosquitoes, and all these things. Like, that's why I think I'd be really terrible at jungle warfare, whatever. I hate that.
That's why the SAS, British SAS, they, before you are, if I remember it correctly, before you are like accepted finally, the final test
is the jungle,
and final phase of training is always jungle, because there's no worse environment on earth than jungle.
I truly believe that, for sure.
For orienteering as well, because everything looks like the same, right? And for the environment, humidity and all that,
I wouldn't say I can imagine that. I've never been a high speed anything like that. But I've heard, I've seen documentaries and stuff like that. So I can, and just from the normal summers in Denmark, I prefer the winter for sure. I say that we had some really, we had some trainings that there was something called the bull run, I think it's called. I mean, every company has their own little exercise that's just the notch above what you normally
like benchmark.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'd be running, and this was in the beginning. I remember this very clearly because that was my first introduction to flashbangs and really loud noises. So they would be standing there. So they'll wake us up in the middle of the night. Get dressed. All the gear. everything. Pack your rock and then go. And then it was like an ilmarsch. It's like a fast marching order. Go there. So we had to go, and it was through a forest, and we kind of knew this forest quite well because we've been running in it and training in it before. But in wintertime, it has some hills in it, and Denmark is quite flat, but it has some hills. And it was slippery.
Well, every hill looked different when you have 30 kilo on you.
Exactly. And it's slippery as hell, getting up there. And then one of the final things, so you had to rope climb and like monkey bars with the backpacks on. And it was just, that was horrible. I remember because we weren't that fit yet, Okay. It's one of those like, here we go. But the last one was on the lake. So they put on gasoline on the lake to light it up. Or barrels. There was barrels with lights on in them, like empty oil, gas, whatever. Yeah. So you could see, and then they'd cut out a massive hole, like a strip along the lake in the middle. So you had to jump into the water. And that wasn't very safe because there was a few that jumped in without actually, they actually jumped running into it. And what had happened is that when they've cut it up, obviously those blocks of ice in the lake, in that strip still, but it was dark, so you only had it was limited light. So they would just run in, and then the kneecaps would be, there was two of them, and the shins would be cut up and stuff like that. So you would hear a few screams, but it's only afterwards you thought, because the sergeants and the lieutenants and everything else were like, they're standing there with their. Back then we had Henkel & Koch G3s. So this is 761. But that's a very, very it's hard punching one, and they're very loud. Jesus, they're loud, and they're just standing there with their obviously not real ammo. It's just blanks. Yeah. But they're shooting constantly and throwing flashbangs and these training grenades and stuff like that. Left, right, and center, and you just get disorientated and what's going on? I think. So
when you hear scream or two in the middle of it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So you thought that the screaming was okay, because we're kind of running around.
Nice effects.
Wow. But there was a few that really got injured there. There was not great. And I'm sure there was a few that got a reprimand or something like that. But it was, looking back, it was so much fun, Mm-hmm. And we were laughing when we got back, except for the guys who had dislocated a kneecap and stuff like that. Yeah. That wasn't good. But we all had some kind of injury or something like that. But you all do. I don't think that's anything ordinary or out of the ordinary.
How long have you been with the army?
I ended up only being 2.5 years, something not even. So you wanted to, back then, there was a Kosovo.
So that wasn't necessarily only there wasn't only the part that you needed to do as a military service.
No.
You extended that, yeah?
So I came away from that in the beginning. So there were certain things, certain departments or certain companies that only would take 6 months. Mm-hmm. And then, but as a guard in the Royal Queen's Army, then lifeguards, then that would take a year.
Okay.
And then sign up for more. But I wanted to become part of the UN peacekeeping force, UN, and that was a lot of things happened. I can't really remember exactly the chronological order, but at the same time, I was getting married. I got married in the army, and if I wanted to progress, I had to go to a school, and that school was in the middle of nowhere. But next to that school was 2 other schools full of ladies, a school for dentists and a school for nursing.
Oh shit!
Yes, very popular. And then my first ex-wife says, "It's not that I don't trust you. I don't trust the ladies." Okay. All right. So she was not very happy about me going to that. So I ended up not going, but not because of that so much, but it obviously had a say. She had a say in it, of course. And we wanted to start a family. But the second thing that happened was that I had a lot of feedback from people coming back from the Kosovo incident. There was a civil war going on there. And that was really, really tough because we could do nothing. Apparently, as a UN peacekeeper, you could do nothing. You were standing there, armed and everything, but unless you were being targeted, unless you were being shot at, you couldn't do anything. And they could be slapping people silly and a lot more. And people saw some really terrible stuff. They couldn't do anything, and then that feeling of being helpless in a situation where that is totally blowing your mind because you'd never seen these things, and from what I'm being told, what was happening, and the training that I got up until I was supposed to leave for the assignment. I left way before I actually had an assignment, but we weren't having the proper training for it.
Okay.
At all. That was the feedback I got, and that was even before. This was before PTSD was a thing. So people just came back and felt really, really bad, and like people were killing themselves, and the military was just. They
don't know what's happening.
Well, I don't think they don't know what's happening. Obviously, it's the stress factor and assimilating.
Or we don't know how to deal with it.
Exactly. No, that's it, isn't it? Obviously, they've become better at it, I believe, now because there's much more focus on it from so many sides. Like a lot of the podcasts of the people that we're like Jocko Willink, and I mean there are tons of these people that actually are voicing these things, and there are so many organizations now that are trying to help. If it's enough, I don't know. I'm not really in the scene at all, so I would know by now. But I mean, I know there's a lot of people suffering from it.
I once because I was studying in Denmark for a couple of months.
Yeah.
And I was there on that school with one guy who just freshly came from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Danish soldier assigned to Afghanistan. And he was telling us, I don't recall it exactly, but I know that his first night in the service, or the first mission, he was just guarding some post.
Yeah.
And he was like a sergeant, something, head of a squadron of 4 other guys. So those 5 of them, he was in charge.
Yeah.
They got shot at. One guy got shot to his ass, which is like, okay, well, his muscle took the bullet, so he got out of it and everything, but they were shot at by some, probably Taliban, if it was Afghanistan. And one other guy just didn't take it. Basically, the whole mission became getting this guy who was shot and the other guy who just got mad because of the impact and the whole stress and the situation.
Mad as in angry, or he just
no, like he lost it. Okay. He was completely unreasonable, panic, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, like full on crazy, not controlling what he was doing. I mean, nobody could blame him, but it was a situation to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he was describing us like how he was like, what the fuck, first night here, I got one guy shot, one other guy, because they are shooting at us, is completely useless, and now I need to, with these other 2 functioning guys, to manage it and get them all back,
Yeah, no, that not a great way to start, is it?
Yeah.
But hey, can't always...
But he seemed okay when he was with us then.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah.
Everybody takes it differently, I guess so.
Yeah, I think that people are very good at hiding stuff, and they're trying their best to try and assimilate back into normal society. And sometimes it comes up later and they haven't been triggered by anything, but that might come up. You never know. There's a few of my friends who it has taken years for them to actually realize, oh, hang on, that's not normal. That's not a normal reaction.
So they got so much adapted to certain things that they weren't considering that pretty standard.
Yeah, yeah. Or they didn't know how to react otherwise, you know, and that's just how it was. And then, you know, but most people, they have that coming back to something with loud noises and you know, shocks. And that.
Yeah, I read one book, I think I have it here. The Body Keeps the Score, it's called. And basically, it's some pretty smart guy, psychiatrist, I believe. I can't recall the name now. So basically, how he's describing the PTSD is a normal processing of what happens to us is going through the frontal cortex. Yeah, you have input of hearing, eyes, whatever. Yeah, some
smell.
sensory input, exactly. And smell is actually a very specific one because the smell neurons center are right next to the limbic part. So our connection of emotion and smell is the strongest with the senses. That's why a smell can take you back way more than a visual input or anything. It's very interesting. You know, like you smell something, oh, that's how my, I know, grandma's house used to smell, or whatever.
That is so true. Yes.
Or you can remember perfumes of people. It's like, oh shit, you know, and you recall a person based on the perfume just because you had that experience. Anyway, so you have a sensory input and it go through the frontal cortex, where it's like pre-processed, and then it's going to other centers of the brain, and you're creating your picture of reality.
Oh.
However, it's for a neurological input, it's fairly slow process. So if something goes really bad and the situation is very intense that you have to deal with, this step is skipped and it's going directly to amygdala, which is the basically like a alarm system for the body.
Okay.
And that's when you decide fight or flight or freeze eventually. Yeah. And that's the thing, that if there is loud noise, whatever, or it might not even start abruptly, but it's sensory overload for a long time. It's all going through the amygdala first, and then it's processed with the brain. And the problem with this is that if the sensors, the sensory input, are perceiving it and skipping the prefrontal cortex, you lose perception of time and timeline, because the prefrontal cortex is responsible for that as well.
Oh.
Therefore, if somebody has a PTSD reaction, that literally means that the brain didn't recognize he is not back there in that original triggered situation anymore. Because his brain has no capacity to allocate time in his chronological timeline of life where it happened. So even it happened 5-10 years ago, if the new stimulus is very similar to the old one, the brain can't allocate like, oh, that's just a memory, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly.
It will think it's there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because they were doing it with an actual MRI and some pictures and stuff, and basically scanning the brain, how is it reacting in a real life imaging and what is actually happening. And they basically found out that this is the case, that you lose the timeline. That's why also they can't tell many times, especially I'm talking about critical, like war-like situation or accidents, they can't tell if it was 20 minutes or 4 hours.
Yeah,
because their timeline is just gone.
I've read that too. Yeah. I know for sure.
So basically, deleting the timeline, that's the problem.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's way more in depth than I have ever looked into it, and the way you're describing. But I mean, obviously, it makes sense, and it's very interesting to hear about. I've never been in direct combat like that in my army days. That came later on, and when I say it wasn't like a prolonged firefight or anything like that. So I think I was also a little bit I don't know if you when you're younger, are you better or worse at absorbing things and just move on from and not these things not triggering anything. I don't know. I mean, I think I don't know.
You know what? I don't want to fuck this up now, but I was just watching some video, and this was about car crash reaction. There was some math, like if you notice a obstacle 30 meters away, will you be able to brake if you are going 50 miles per hour or 80 miles per hour, so on. Yeah, it was just like a math example, and they said that there are two main factors for the brain to analyze. First one is to realizing that something's going on, like basically recognizing the obstacle, and then from time you recognize, how fast you react. And funny that you said with the age, because it kind of shifts. The younger ones have longer time to recognize, but shorter time to react. And the older people, because of more experience, they have shorter time to recognize, but longer time to react.
Okay.
So at the end, it kind of averages itself. But this is in fucking milliseconds. So
So now I was just wondering. So, hang on, how will that affect? I mean, in terms of having an incident where that creates a PTSD situation, where you're feeling when you have that. I'm sure this thing I haven't looked enough into. I haven't read enough about it. I've read about like people having it, but how do you get it? Is it more pronounced for when you get older, or is it from it doesn't matter what age you're at?
From what I don't know, I don't want to say anything, but I've never heard that this would be necessarily a determining factor.
No. Probably not. No.
Yeah, but like what is kind of, because we said like what is all the process, what is causing it, but then, like how to deal with it is basically being exposed in a very controlled environment to the same stimuli in a way that you can react, and you kind of allocate that timeline to it. Yeah. Like, okay, if it's a noise that triggers you, go to that sounds stupid, but like go to a place and get shot at
overload of the same stimuli.
Yeah, like basically do the same stimuli, but in a way that you're not really in danger, but you will be exposed, like an exposure therapy, like slowly being exposed to more and more intense stuff of what is happening to you and what is triggering you, and then you over time learn how to deal with it. Because also some people with PTSD, it gets better over time, and there seems to be a correlation of the more outbursts they had, the better it gets. So that's kind of like uncontrolled exposure therapy, like you're getting exposed to that freaking reaction, and then eventually you kind of become more numb to it. But there are also extremes where people are just like too far.
Well,
anyways, so you didn't go to UN peacekeeping?
No, I did not. Okay. And I kind of, there's a lot of people coming back from me, and I was like, no, it's not me. And at the same time, I was toying with the idea of going to try out for special forces. Just try it out, because I was thinking, if I don't do it, I'll probably just regret it at some point in my life. I am regretting it because there's a few things that happen life through some curveballs, and there's let's get out. And I will say that was a good decision for me at the time. That was good. And then when I came out, I wanted to be a carpenter. I've always been good with my hands, and I wanted to create something. So carpentry was something that really spoke to me. But I was at that age by then, which isn't that very old, but when normally you would go straight from school and into being an apprentice of some carpenter. But by then I'd already been studying, and I been in the army, and I came out an old guy of like 21, something like that, 22. And by then I was like, okay, well, so I was waiting for that apprenticeship, but it was in a school for an adult apprenticeship, whatever they called it back then, to start. And it was like 8 months away. And then my wife at the time, she was a startup consultant for IT companies, which was like brand new back then. And that was like 97, 98, can't remember. Anyways, I digress. Yeah.
Very early.
Very early on, yeah. When you still could get good domain names.
Yeah.
Now it's
where
harder.
most people still had a phone with a cable.
Yes. Yes. So I started as a webmaster in one of those companies that she was a startup consultant for. And I was just answering emails and some little tidbits and stuff like that. And
so entering emails, that time was a webmaster.
It was, man. I was, answering emails, and that's all I did actually to begin with. But this company was this is where it gets a bit not sketchy, just like this is a little bit different. It was a web hosting company, so you could have your servers hosted at them, and they would host your domain names and stuff like that. That was one of the services. On the other side, they were also programming, and to keep all that going, they had a totally different division, and that was the credit card billing side of it, where they were billing for adults and pharmaceuticals and casinos,
like pay gates, basically.
Yes, yeah. It was a payment gate back then, and then you would have something called a merchant account to be able to take the money from the credit card, and then the scrubbing is when you're looking at the card and say, okay, well, is this a valid card? Can I deduct this? And there's the name. You cross-reference a lot of different things to make sure that this is a true and not a fraud.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. So I was in that special division where I was answering emails to different people say, hey, my membership is not where I can't log into this porn site or whatever, or stuff like that. And I thought that was quite funny actually, Anyway, so
stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Excuses.
Well, I'll get you some excuses afterwards. We get to that. So they expanded that. So instead of just having back then, as I said, you could get a domain name, and you had a domain name. You wanted content. Let's just say, let's go for adult. You had a great domain name, and you want to do something with it, and so you needed content, but you had no idea where to get content from, and you also needed, traffic, so search engine traffic. And back then, it was very different in terms of how it is now. Now you got Google Ads, and you still had actually a little bit of. No, you didn't have Google. It was Yahoo and MSN and all these things. But anyways,
from all this, I just know the names. I have no idea what it is.
Don't know if it's accessible anymore. No, so you would we would obviously, because we were in that sphere, we would then get to know, and we would then go to the US to all these conferences, and that's when you actually met people who were actually doing the same as you were, but not the billing part, but content creation. And you would meet, back then, it would be the equivalent of Bang Bros and all these things, that are now, on the internet as big adult companies, adult content creators. You would meet them there, and you would say, hey, listen, I need to buy this and this and this. And we have, sure, no problem. You would, and the thing is, the way that the transactions were made, you met at the AVN Awards or in the beginning, it was actually an IT conference where everybody from that industry would come as well. And it was insane because it wasn't a big industry, but it was massive. I mean, adult was 3 times bigger than Amazon at the time. Not Amazon, but and way bigger than casino and pharmaceuticals.
Oh, wow.
In terms of earnings and transactions made overall. And you get to these conventions and you get invited to a party and okay, that sounds nice, and you get to this place and it's just a massive mansion, and you think back to like Hugh Hefner and his Playboy mansion there. Nothing compares. I mean, that is just like, that's down here. What we were experiencing, like something up, because I've been to one of those parties as well. I said, no, this is pretty lame, actually. No.
Okay.
But it was insane because everything was paid for. They would fly in, and this is, I mean, I was married and I wasn't, I mean, that was another hurdle, wasn't it? I mean, getting to these parties where they'd been flying in women from all over the US, and we're not talking about just like, library assistant.
Yeah.
It was just like very, very good looking women that were paid to do everything that you wanted. Everybody at that party could do whatever they wanted to do. And there was probably a lot of drugs as well, and there was definitely all the booze you could wanted. And if you forgot to bring your swim shorts, it's okay.
So basically, it was like, this is how we deal our business partners.
Yeah,
like, this is how we want to.
Yeah.
We want to treat you well here.
Yes, no, not only that, but it was just to get a good mood.
Okay.
To get like hey, let's do some business, because I have to say, I was astounded how like, let's do business first. In a nice environment, nice, very, very, not very clothed, environment. They were all running around in nothing, and it's just, okay, what's happening here? That was insane. I mean, I was 22, and if my wife could see me now.
How did I get here?
Exactly. And the worst thing was that when they then came and sat on your lap and it's like, hey, you want to go? No, I'm good here, thank you. But you would see and there's a lot of people just, let's go. And they'd come back 10 minutes later. It's like, oh, okay, all right, yeah. So that's how it works, okay. But that was insane.
Life lessons.
Yeah, it's like, don't go here married. Well, at least for me, I was like, but that was unreal in terms of like, pinch my arm, kind of. Oh, and there was another time. This was in Las Vegas, and then they had this every 6 months, and then another, one of the other years, it was in Miami, and they rented out a massive boat. And when I say boat, it was actually a Russian, like one of those ocean princess type.
Yacht.
Back then, yeah, very, very, very big. It could, we could easily have 2,000 people on it. It was like the ocean liner,
All right.
It was massive, and there was invited 300 VIPs, and let's just say the rest was entertainment. And they would shoot regular movies on deck, and everywhere they could, there'd be a recording going on. And this was like, everybody had a camcorder on them, like on a lanyard around the neck and stuff like that, so they would go around, oh, look at that, and it wasn't just your regular, like, normal porn thing. There was some heavy, hardcore SMS going on with whips and everything. And you just...
So you were basically on a swimming live porn set.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But everybody was there to make business. Everybody was there to buy content or negotiate traffic and billing, of course. And that was one of the reasons we were there as well. Well, the only reason we were there was actually to buy content, and
so you can sell it.
No, well, it's not so we can sell it, so we can use that in our member section for people that we would do turnkey solutions for. Because they would come to us and say, oh, we need this and this and this. And sure, okay. So we would have the content, and then we would also buy or make deals with traffic providers. So we could say, okay, but this is the deal. So we would sell our content on to somebody who needed a member section for his website. But that was how it used to be then, and I mean,
OnlyFans ruined that.
Yeah, exactly. They've ruined that completely. And back then it was also quite difficult to get billing for it, actually. So that was made out of Denmark. So we had our billing company out of Denmark, or was hired by a company that had a billing company out of Denmark. And then I got to know some people in the Netherlands, and So I worked for that company for about 2 years. And then I started on my own, doing the same thing, but with a partner in Holland, in the Netherlands.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Like you learned how to do it.
Yeah,
and then you had all the contacts.
Yeah. So I had
from
all
the parties.
Exactly. All the business cards. Not the scribbles on napkins, no.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, okay, good. And then you know, and then obviously the more niche you could go in terms of porn, the better the payment were. The higher prices for memberships and stuff like that. So your normal average thing would be like $1.99. But if you went niche, and niche is like anything you can imagine. I will say that anything that had anything to do with like really, I mean, horrible things, like in terms of like, that went straight to Interpol. But because even back then, Interpol actually had an internet police section. So you could then forward anything you found was like illegal. You just send the IP number there, and then, you know, that was it.
All right.
So yeah, that was it. But as anything niche you could get, then the better. The membership prices just went up. You know?
Okay, and so Interpol was like at your backyard?
No,
kind of watching.
They probably were.
What's going on?
They probably were not backyard. I mean, they were. I mean, in our server backyard.
Yeah, yes, that's what I mean. Not physically. I mean, yeah.
I didn't see any like.
Why are you plugged in here?
You okay there?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, they probably were. I wouldn't know, but I mean, we were sending like weekly.
So
reports.
if we would like super simplify it, this was basically like an online pimp.
Wow, sound like my mum there. Yeah, I mean, was my moral compass distorted? Yeah, probably a little bit, but the thing is,
but look, like you were kind of the middleman, right?
Yeah, for
sure. Somebody who had something to sell, that was the content.
Yeah,
and you had people who had demand for that content.
Yeah,
and you were connecting these two parties.
You could say that, yes, yeah, okay. Absolutely, and yes, we were making good money on that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, so we would take a percentage of the transaction, and if you bought content and everything else, the member section if we had to put up everything for you, then let's say we would probably end up getting 30% of the income of one transaction. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I mean, hey. You did like the work, Joe Blow around, you know, downstairs. See, he didn't know any better, he didn't have the contacts, and that's half the thing, isn't it? If you don't have the connections, then you need to pay for it.
Yeah,
and that's nice. Just normal life.
So why?
Yeah, so why stop?
Why did you stop?
Well, actually, I found my moral compass. No, it was a mix of different things, because what happened was that once I started my own company, I had so much time, and I also earned a lot of money in very little time. And then Denmark just became really, really... I mean, I always hated the weather, I have to say. I mean, Denmark is lovely, but it's just so short period of time where you actually have great weather. I mean, I want sun or winter, nothing in between. So yeah, okay. Well, I might be.
Denmark is pretty much all the time the in between.
It's pretty much all the time, yeah. So I was like, nah. So my then wife and my firstborn, well, he was like 1 year at the time, 2 years. She said, let's move, because I could do that work from anywhere. So I had learned French in school. I had also not learned Italian or Spanish, and we knew we were going to go south of Europe. So we went to France, south of France, for 2 weeks to try and find a location for us to live in, and it was just not possible at the time. You couldn't find anything apart from timeshare apartments or houses. Or you needed to buy. It was hard to find something as a foreigner to rent something long term. So we went there for 2 weeks, and then we couldn't find anything. We saw a lot of things, and as soon as they understood that we didn't want to buy, we wanted to rent, because we didn't know exactly where we wanted to be, and buying outright wasn't something that we were interested in doing, because we felt that we liked that freedom we'd had. We already bought a house in Denmark and sold it, and now we were just ready to move our life completely, and we didn't know 100% where we want to be. So anyways, on the last day, my ex-wife took a stack of immobilier magazines, like what do you call it? When you're selling and renting, what do they call? Oh my God, my English has really declined.
I don't know what you mean.
Real estate agents. There you go.
Okay,
there you go. Found it. So they had magazines like full of all the the houses and everything else for rent, but like short-term rent, like a week, 2 weeks, and we wanted a monthly rent for like an extended period, and that was so hard to find. So we ended up back in Denmark, like 2 weeks to go before we had to get out of our own house. And then the next night, we were home. She finds one house, crazy enough, in a very nice area that we knew we'd already been to it, in the south of France, called Mougins. Lovely place. But it's like a massive mansion, like 400 square meters. And that was big for us. I mean, we were only 3 people.
Yeah.
And and it was big. And as I called this woman, and she was like, yeah, I've seen this house and I'd like to rent that. Yeah, but okay. And this is all in French, I would say. So I said, Mais monsieur, c'est pas possible. That's not possible. You need to come down and see it. I can't just give it to you. I mean, I can't just say yes. I need to see. You need to see it. What she meant is she needs to see who I am.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have this, lovely deep voice that I have now. I was 23 or something like that, and really, just a kid. And that house was a lot of money back then. But I was earning really well on this credit card billing thing, so I was like, that was okay. And that way we felt we have a base now. Now we have a base, and then we can look for something more permanent. So it just happened to be that my business partner, was on vacation in Saint-Tropez at the time. So I called him up and said, hey, I'm coming down again. Pick me up Nice airport. And so he did, and we went down. And he is also a car guy, just like myself. And so he had he had a Corvette. And it was just, I don't know what, he straight piped it or something like it. You don't really need to straight pipe a Corvette, but he'd had like done something to the engine as well. So it was really, really loud.
Okay.
And so,
intentionally.
No, for sure. He wanted like, brr, really. So Mougins is up in the mountains. So you drive up the mountains, side of the mountains, and that engine was just so loud. And you just like, oh, I felt really embarrassed, because he's like, oh no, she's assessing me. I mean, does she want one of these, this crude loud boy to come in and actually rent some of her clients' houses? Nah. Says, can you just park here? And then I walked for a kilometer up, and then I met her, and then and unfortunately, I had, we had to go to the house and I had to drive. And so, are you? And then I made the mistake when she asked me, no, so did you walk up here? How did you get here by cab? No, I have my car further down. And I knew when I said that, oh shit. So, okay, I'll drive you down to it. And then obviously my partner was there, and I was like, oh shit, just let her drive way ahead of you. And okay. Anyways, we saw the house, and it was way too big for us, but it was the only house we could get. So we got it, and they accepted, and it was good, So that's the first time we stayed there for 8 months. Didn't see that many other people. Obviously, my son needed to go to school at that time, or like a preschool. They start quite early down there. And, the only time we saw people, because it's such a like enclosed area, there, it's like a small, compound of one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So every time you open that front gate, that's, you see people driving by. Oh, that's my neighbor. Okay. That's the only time you see them. So we felt kind of like, we felt like hermits. Like we didn't see anybody unless we went down for the shopping and stuff like that. So, but that was, so I just said, yes, we'll take it. And then on the way back, that's when I made the first decision that's not true, not the first, but one of those decisions where my then wife thought, what are you doing? That kind of decision making. What was that for? Why did you not talk to me about that? So I was like, I'd already just bought a car in Denmark, and like a sports car, and I just got it. And then we decided to leave, and we didn't think through. And anyways, it's one of those things. Yeah, you bought. Oh shit. Okay, so I would lose money on that one when I sell it. Anyways, so I knew that. So I knew I needed a new car. So I then bought another one of these magazines with all these cars in them, and then I found my a dream car at a very good price, but it was in Paris. So I changed my ticket to go to Paris, and I called my wife up and said, I'm going to be I'm coming home in 2 days. Oh, okay. Didn't explain into too much there. So I went up to Paris.
Intentionally.
Yes,
Yeah.
bought the car, and very lucky. I got everything, because I paid cash, I got everything to drive the next day, which is back then probably easy. Today, not that easy. I don't know. There's all these background checks and stuff like that, even for buying a car. And France is known for the, paperwork. So we did that, and then, I did that. I didn't tell her I was so excited. I bought this big 4x4 that I always really wanted.
What was it?
It was a Range Rover 4.6.
Okay.
It was like, oh God, it was good. It was, that was, Anyways, so I drove back home to Copenhagen.
From Paris?
Yes. That's why I said I needed 2 days. I was thinking, maybe I could do that, And so, I drove back, and it didn't take that long, actually. It took like 17 hours, 16 hours. So, fairly quick. And then I stopped in front of the house, and then I honked the horn, and it's like, she came out, opened the door, and looked. Who's this idiot? And he's like, hi. What the hell? What are you doing? What's that?
French plates.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, but I said, but listen, darling, this is because I wanted us to, like, all the things that we don't want in the moving van, down south, then we could take all the precious things in the car, stuff like that. Okay. So you really thought that out, didn't you?
Yeah. So you bought the car for that.
Yeah, exactly.
For that purpose.
For that purpose only. As I said, that was one of the not mistakes. She came around to it, but she was like, "Fucking hell."
Did you take the other car with you to the France?
No, because it wouldn't be feasible because of all the fees that I had to pay.
Okay.
It's already registered in Denmark. See, the funny thing is, for years, Denmark, I probably still do, I don't know, have the cheapest cars in Europe if they're not registered. If you want to buy a car somewhere in Europe, Denmark is the place to buy them, because they are the cheapest cars. Somehow, I don't know how that's possible, but that's where they, unregistered cars, you buy them from Denmark. It's the cheapest place. Now, if you're going to use them in Denmark, then, there's a 300% tax. Something like that. It's unreal.
What?
Yeah, it's unreal. It's unreal. Yeah, they're very, very expensive.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Wow, okay. That came out pretty quick, 300% tax. But it's a lot. No, I'm not kidding. It's a lot. I mean, yeah.
Well, you have just the income tax like 50, right?
Yeah, we do. And 50, that's pretty low. That's pretty low, yeah.
Okay.
No, I think that most people are on 52. It's actually depending on how much you earn as well, of course.
Okay.
And you could deduct a lot as well. If you have like high tax, you can deduct a lot as well. But the good thing about it is that in that tax you have medical and education included.
I was, unlucky enough to be in the experience of using the Danish medical system.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like minor stuff, but I needed to go to check my toe because I dislocated it, and it was crazy. We just booked in everything through the call. I came there. They already knew my name. They just took me. The doctor was like, "Hey, Paolo," he talked to me like an old friend. I've never seen him before. Extremely
Danes are very
professional.
kind.
Extremely professional.
Yeah, Danes are very kind. No, but I mean, so that actually, for certain things, that's really good, very efficient. Other things is just, and I say this, I haven't lived in Denmark for like 24 years. But, I still have family there. So I hear from time to time complaints. But
Okay. All right.
no, I mean, hey, everything, it's the grass is not always greener, but there are certain things that are good, certain things that are bad, like anything else. But anyways, came back, got the car, smoothed things out a bit, and then we moved. And... that was honestly, France was good. That was a good time. I was there for 8 years, but I would say that it's also where I had the most change in my life. Actually, that was some big changes coming in, and we came in 2000. Yeah, we moved in 2000, and then everything changed a little bit. And obviously 9/11 happened in 2001, and just when, everything changed actually also for the credit card stuff and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, it did.
It affected you a lot?
I would say that certain things got, that the merchant account that I talk, merchant accounts and aggregator accounts, is like terms within that business, is that we have an aggregator account, you have a master account, and then you can have multiple other accounts under it, which was very rare to have, but you could have that. But there was a lot of scrutiny behind that. When you had that, you would be checked. You would have people in your backyard looking at you because, you could take payments for so many different things, and and move payments around, and so there's a lot of Back then it was difficult to get, but somehow we managed to get one. And because we had that, so obviously it's not really the banks, it was the credit card companies that are the biggest thieves, if you can say that. I mean, they don't really care. I mean, if there's a fraud, see, there's a big, there's a difference between like a chargeback and a normal, reversal of it, of something. If you buy something else, no, that's not me. You could go to the bank and say, hey, okay, and the bank will handle it. Now, if you go to the credit card company and say, hey, that's not my charge, and that would happen a lot, actually. I mean, because, this horny man looked online, bought a membership, and then all of a sudden his wife saw the credit card statement and denying, no, that's not me. I don't know what that must be.
There's no way John would do this.
No, but hang on, not even John. He would probably, go to the wives, because we've had emails because, my wife came to me and they're very we've had full on explanation of what has actually gone on before they went to the credit card company and pleading us to pay. So it's not that we don't want to pay back. Of course, we'd much rather do a chargeback. Do a refund than a chargeback. Refund was free for us. We just gave it back and there was no repercussions, and the credit card company wouldn't be the wiser, or they didn't track that. But chargebacks, that's when the owner of the card says this is fraud.
Okay.
And then the credit card company comes to us and say, hang on, you've actually billed this card. Your scrubbing should be better. But the thing is, the scrubbing is based on the matrix that we get from the credit card companies. So
they got you to blame it on you, even though it's basically on them.
In broad terms, yes.
Yeah.
There are different mechanics behind it, but so then not only did we have to pay the client back, but we got also a fee, like a penalty fee from the credit card company on the same amount.
Oh shit.
Yes.
Okay. So at the end, you were responsible.
Yeah,
and you were paying it back.
Yes. So we got that fine, and you could only have 2% of your overall transaction. So if you had an aggregated account, can you imagine? You had so many different clients, and 2% was the maximum on all of it. It wasn't just for one account. 2% here, 2% here in this account, 2% in this account. It was all of it. So if you had let's just say 2,000 transactions on a day, it didn't take much to get to 2%. Then they would freeze your account until you've solved the issue. And solving the issue was saying, oh, hang on. Oh, we found the error in the scrubbing. We'll adjust that. But you could only do that so many times, and then all of a sudden there would be more fines. So gradually, over the years, that became more and more of a problem. So
basically, the bigger it got, the more problems were coming with it.
You could say that, but should our back-end department get better as well? But it was just one of those things. It's just
how many people were working on it?
We were only 5 people.
Okay.
So we were only 5 people, but
and the 2,000 transactions a day. That's a real number, you said?
Yeah,
that was happening
easily.
Oh shit!
Yeah, easily. You would have certain member sites that would do maybe $50,000 a day.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, recurring billing. Not just on new transactions, but there will be recurring billing
I get it,
checking in as well. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But that certain niche sites would be for that,
Isn't this why dark web was created?
Dark web
eventually.
I don't think so. I think that was for more serious things, not so.
Okay. This was still not that serious. Yeah.
Some of the sites were really, really wow. Okay, really, Jesus Christ, are you into that? Wow. Okay.
Okay.
But dark web, wasn't that more drugs and bomb making and stuff like that?
Yeah, that as well. But there is also
maybe I should make a site that takes membership from that. No, actually, no. So the thing is, it kind of ticked along. As I was dealing mostly with the US, or we were mostly dealing with the US transaction wise. So I was working from 10 at night till 2 in the morning, and it left me with a lot of time on my hands during the rest of the day. So obviously I had my son, and that multiplied. So all of a sudden I had a daughter, and then so I had a lot of time on my hands, and I kind of missed the military. So I was looking around, and then I saw this opportunity to buy myself into a weapons training facility. So a company that manufactured training weapons. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm not going to be active duty or anything, so yeah. So I got in there and said, yeah, I'd like to invest in here, but I also want to be. I don't want to be a silent investor. I want to do something. Mm-hmm. So they showed me all the items and all the good stuff that they had.
So what they were. It was manufacturing.
They were manufacturing. And then not only manufacturing, they were also importing from Asia, mainly Japan and Hong Kong.
Okay. And it was training weapons.
When I say training weapons, yes. So training weapons they still use it. Simunition. Mm-hmm. Those cartridges or bullets they use, they cost $1 a pop. Or something like that, roughly. Or maybe they got gone down. I don't know. Haven't been in it for a while. But back then, it cost $1 every time you shot it, and that's expensive.
Well, that's way more than a live round.
But this is a training opportunity.
Yeah. So I'm just comparing it. Live round. But at least from what I know, now 9mm is maybe 25 euro cents, 25-30 euro cents. Yeah. 5.56 maybe 50-60 cents.
Yeah.
And that already went up. Lately.
No, it did. Yeah.
There is a demand.
So, exactly. I wonder what the 672 is. 761. Is it 762? 762. Yeah.
That's similar to I think it might be just just around the 5.56, I think.
Really? Okay.
Similar to that.
Anyways, so living in France, so I was thinking, hang on, there's a lot of police, and that's, they have a vast military, departments I can go to. So I tried to get in there with them because they were using laser, and I used laser when I was back in the army as well, and that was really shit. I mean, go behind a bush and hey, you're safe,
like a laser tag.
Yeah, exactly. It was.
Pretty much a laser tag.
Absolutely. And the recoil on is all horrible. Anyways, so I was like, hang on, and ammunition was really, really expensive. And if I know one thing about government entities, they want to save money where they can. Until it gets to the end of the year, the fiscal year, then they need to use all the money they haven't, but otherwise they won't get the same amount next year. Anyways,
yeah, saving so we can spend at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, what do I want to do? So I started up a new section in that company saying we are going to expand our business into military. And so when I said training weapons, they would send, they had already government contacts or contracts with certain things but we're talking about batons and like handcuffs and stuff like that. That's not training wear, but they had that in their portfolio. So I wanted to try and do something else, and I've been looking into airsoft. And I mean, to be fair, I like airsoft. We get back to that, but yeah. So I found a company in Japan that actually made a very, very, very good, not copy, but like a replica of an AR rifle. Mm-hmm. The only problem is the French military uses FAMAS. Only the special forces use AR variants.
Okay, so you need something that the training weapon should be as similar to the real one.
They're not going to go into so they had the same manipulations and everything else, on the weapons, so except for some of the militaries would use what I actually could provide. So that was a very limited, sorry, swearing. Then obviously we had loads of pistols and stuff like that, airsoft pistols, but at a much higher quality that you could buy for your normal skirmish Sunday game or whatever. And the military wasn't aware of this yet, of these products. So I went in and so that was great. But these contracts, they took 6-8 months to finalize because they're so slow.
You said bureaucracy.
Yeah, exactly. And then I got in touch with, because I was also skirmishing on the weekends with some friends I developed down there, and some of them turned out to be ex-military, now gone private military contractor, and they said, "We need this. We need this for training. Can you come and show us?" It's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, of course I can. All of a sudden it dawned on me, yes, here's an opportunity.
Fuck government. These guys will take it.
Yeah. Hey, if somebody has money, it's the private military contractors. They've got money readily available. At least if they know what they're doing. So that's how I got back into something that tasted a little bit of army again. Mm-hmm. So I was invited up, obviously, to the training camps, and they would have their own shooting ranges, and they would have they would have different compounds actually, where they had kill houses and they had shooting range, and they would have a small. Some of them had small. Some of them actually had a really good size. What do you call it? A racetrack. That access to racetracks where they can then do normal defensive, offensive driving courses.
Car chasing.
Yes.
Oh wow!
And so they invited me up with all my stuff, and then I would then say, oh, this is how it works, blah 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 blah. These are the differences from what you might be using before. So getting in there with the boys, having a great time, and obviously told my wife, what was going on, and yeah, great, yeah, go on, yeah, that sounds good, good for business. And then all of a sudden, that was just every weekend I was going out. If I wasn't going out, I was going to like some kind of airsoft games where I would invite these guys in as well, and just to have fun and see how it actually, they could practice what they preach, or I could do.
Is airsoft community big in France?
I would say yes. Yeah.
So the regulation is there like 18 plus, you can buy it,
No.
use it?
Oh God. I mean, I don't know the law now.
Okay.
But back then, we would have dads bringing their sons as 9, 10 years old. As long as they had a protection on,
okay,
full face mask,
yeah.
that's fine. I mean, when you're adult, you can play with. The only thing you had to have was eyewear, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were pretty hard on kids until they're 18. They need to have face mask.
Well, that's how I started as well. Our dad's colleague and friend, he had an airsoft gun. He was going with his friends. We just went there one day to try. Yeah. We liked it, so we started to play with them when we were 13. But you can't buy the gun if you're under 18. Yeah. But if you are
with your parents,
with supervising, it's
exactly.
Fine. You can do that.
So that community actually was great for me actually on multiple levels, but also business wise. Because it was a place I could bring after I've shown them, and obviously, these people, they know what they're doing, but it's regimented when you're there, when you're training for whatever they're training. That's very like strict and everything else. You want to let loose a bit as well. You want to try the things you've been training, and then who better to be on the receiving end than other airsofters, and this is where we actually to cut things a little bit, getting to it, after 2-3 months, they asked me if I wanted to. So a few of the groups that I was selling to, or the private contractors, there was quite a few actually down south there. I was asked to like come up multiple times, and then we had good fun, and there was a good banter, and they could see that I really liked it as well. And sometimes they were always training with the same group of people because they understood the importance of having the same training and being on the same page and having the same level of proficiency. So, and that is probably one of the things that was very different at that time, I believe.
What in this group?
Yeah.
What was their job? This was how they were training. Yeah, they were training shooting, they were training some close combat, they were training different strategies, driving, kill house, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, who they were protecting, where it was happening, like what was their actual day-to-day execution of this?
In the beginning, I didn't know.
Okay.
I had no idea what they were doing. I just knew that these people, they were there, like they would have they would be training a week, 10 days, and then they would be gone for like a week.
Okay.
And then they would come back again. But I would only see them on the weekends, most of them, and unless they were away on a mission. But they were always, this is the thing about, I came to learn that they were being sent out as a group mostly. Like they were probably between 24, 25 people. And at any time, there would always be like 10 people away. So they would then, be away and then come back again. And then for more training, or, they would have like mostly, it depended on what I found out, obviously, because then I became a part of it because I was there a lot. And then there's like, hang on, you actually, you seem to have a good grasp of what this is about. And I was playing up for quite a lot and, opposing forces. So, when they went into the kill house, I'd be in there getting shot at. No, I mean, it's so after a while, hang on, have you thought about joining? So I got the licenses that was needed and all the paperwork done. And so I was quickly attached to 2 different companies. One in Switzerland and one south of France. Mm-hmm. And they were all part of those 2 companies. The one in Switzerland was more of a, I won't say a startup, but they were more like a government, guard duty based company. Like they would guard different like embassies and we would never do anything like that. But they were trying to expand their portfolio as well.
Okay.
So they wanted private clients. And they knew a shitload of people, apparently. So, and we found out. I mean, we got quite a few assignments from them. And the same with the one in the south of France. We would mostly be in the south of Europe, and then on the top part of Africa as well. We had a few stints into what's it called, Mali. We had a few stints into Tanzania, which was by far the nicest place. Yeah, for sure. That was by far the nicest, most calm place of all of them. The tension everywhere else was a bit higher. But I would say that the issue with all of this was that I hadn't really told my wife about this at the time. Because
well,
remember I said in the beginning that she's the one.
We are going to shoot each other on the weekends. It's plastic BBs, it's fine. And now it's not plastic anymore.
No, but hang on. I mean, I will say we were training for a lot of different scenarios, but we would rarely get into them. We would rarely have them when we were on assignment.
That's kind of the thing, right? Like you train not to get to get there.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah. But be prepared. Should hit the fan.
Yeah.
But since she, I mean, I put it in my mind that she actually got me out of the army. You know, I told myself that she's the reason why I'm not in the army, and if I'm going to tell her this
because
again,
of that, nurse is there, yeah.
Well, yeah. So either way, I'm not in the army anymore. I'm not in the army anymore. So. You know, that's your fault. So in my mind, I told myself that. And I was also being selfish as hell because I was having so much fun. I mean, can you imagine every weekend or and then it got extended to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you know, stuff like that, you know. It just took more and more time. And you'd be up and, there's a driving course on Thursday. Can you make that one? Yeah, of course. Yeah, no problem. Okay, great. Because then we got Kill House on Friday and then we can have a barbecue Sunday, Saturday just to relax. And then you could go back Sunday. So perfect. You know, like hanging out with the boys, it was like, you know, cowboys and Indians again, you know, and driving, like technical driving, learning some new skills. That was just amazing. Like tipping cars, you know, like when you just nudge the end of them and they just spin around. Oh, wow. You know, that kind of thing. You see that on movies, like but they work, you know.
James Bond stuff.
Yeah, but can you imagine you sitting in a car with three other people shouting at, yeah, go. I mean, obviously, that sounds like it's like fucking like a hillbilly show, but it was good fun at the same time, and you learned shitload. It was, I mean, and the kill houses. When would I ever go into a kill house? Normally, if I were private, I mean, if I do security in Europe. I mean, should that ever happen? No, no. But then again, I didn't know we also went to like Africa. So, but that came later. Not that I needed to do that anyhow in Africa, but that was, you know, anything goes down there almost. You know, so you need to be open for most things. Again, back to that thing about my wife not knowing, and I was still, there's a conference now. I'm going, Marseille, you know, there's a conference. I'm going to stay there for a week. Okay, yeah, sure. She was very, you know, okay, fine, yeah. Because don't forget, for years, I'd been going to the US for 10, 14 days.
Yeah. So it was pretty normal that you were traveling.
Yes, and if not there, I would go to the Netherlands to spend time with my partner, to strategize and all these things. So I would always be traveling. Now I'd just be traveling in country, which was much more safe, you know, or closer to home, you know. But so yeah, and it always left me with a little bit of bad taste in my mouth. And as I said, you know, another moral compass outage. But I was justifying because I was so happy that was the best time of my life. I had so much fun, and I was with good friends, and we become close. And that brotherhood you develop is just not to be mistaken. I mean, that is important. And I think that everybody in any work environment, if you have, good colleagues and good people around you that you get along with. I mean, there's obviously you have falling outs and stuff like that, but you solve these things. And brotherhood is just really, really important, and something you miss dearly when it's not there. Some of them become closer than your family.
Yeah.
So.
And when so this was the training part.
That was the training part, and then after that, then
what were your assignments? Some example of assignment? What was going on?
They could vary a lot. I mean, I would say that. I mean, security is mainly really boring, unless you get really
watching a street and opening the door. Yeah.
Yes. Stuff like that, we tried to stay clear of those because we had fairly good rapport with the companies. That it wouldn't be a waste of resources, but we would think so because we were so highly tuned. We were so but no, obviously not. But it was just no, we didn't want to do that. And then they were all ex-military or police who were doing this. So they had the proficiency was high, and everybody just and that's how we actually came to talk about this in terms of who trains us, who trains the trainer, and that was difficult to find back then. Somebody when you got into when we got into self-defense, because we would different type of training, but when you have a VIP and you're walking, and they would basically the clients would be something like a banker or his family or somebody with money that needed protection for something. It could also easily be somebody who just wants to show off, because the South is full of show-offs. Mm-hmm. That just wants people around, so people think that you're important.
Okay, so he could afford it. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and those people are probably the most boring people to protect. Or to be around,
because nothing's going to happen anyway.
But that's a dangerous train of thought. But you need to be alert. But what a schmuck sometimes, you think that that client's he's just sitting there, and then he's just But what I would normally do, I would be the recon. I would go ahead of we would normally get the itinerary of what the client was going to do. So if he was going for a meeting or a lunch or whatever, I would always go ahead with another car, with another teammate, and we'd go in and check things out.
How long ahead?
Not more than 20 minutes.
Oh, like that? Okay, not checking it a week ahead and
no.
Mapping out the whole.
I mean, that depends on the client and what we're talking about. Risk assessment was everything, of course. So we would get all the details beforehand, and the team leader would say, okay, well, the risk assessment is so and so and so and so and so. But on a if it's just small things, non-routine, it would be me going ahead 20 minutes or something like that, 50 minutes, just to radio back, say, okay, all good, all clear, and then I would sit there. And I will get all the intel, the radio intel coming out. We're inbound in 26, whatever. But that was just this is so. It was just really exciting. Mm-hmm. I felt that was really exciting. And I just walking in, checking things out, make sure this is fine, okay. And we also had to figure out, okay, well, we're going this way. This is where we're going. Where's the nearest hospital? Where is do we have any what we would deem as a safe house or back or police station or whatever?
And this was also happening in France?
Yeah.
And in
Africa
as well, you said.
So Africa was totally different. Okay. Totally different assignments we got there. But that would happen. We would have what I just explained was normally the norm of our clients. Okay. Nothing fancy or anything that really we never had any weapons. We had a baton, like a nightstick.
Oh, you were not armed?
No, we're not allowed to have that.
Ah, okay.
It's quite difficult to get a permit unless you are police or anything in government. So we didn't have that. We had nightsticks and spray, and that's it. Some of us were wearing or did have like knuckle busters, but we would normally try to get out of anything sketchy or anything, any sign of that. We would just make it a last minute decision. Okay, because it wasn't like massively important in terms of like they could afford to change the meeting like 20 minutes for another location. We could do these things if there's something that didn't sit right. But obviously, if you get a hint that something isn't right, then you make that change. Otherwise,
well, that's what self-protection and self-defense is about. Preventing stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Mainly.
Yeah, precisely. So I think one of the best ones was actually when we had a Saudi princess. It wasn't a princess. It was just she was from Saudi.
Okay.
And then
called herself princess.
No. It was because.
You called her princess.
I mean, it was like low key. Like the Saudi princess is coming back. So she was a regular client. She always traveled with like 15, 16 people. That's why we called her the princess, because she had a lot of family and a lot of servants. With her. And it was always a logistic nightmare because whenever she came, it would be for either, actually having a vacation in Cannes, south of France, or in the wintertime she would go to Courchevel, which is a very well-known and very like glamorous, I would say glamorous, but it is glamorous. It's a very nice ski resort. But it's tiny. And when you have that many people, you have a lot of cars. And driving, in a convoy in Cannes is fucking nightmare. Especially, I think that Cannes,
all the one-way narrow streets.
No. So obviously, we knew Cannes very well, so we avoided all these things. But we always try to go like at specific timings because it was horrible. It's like in the summertime. So in the wintertime, Cannes probably has now maybe 90,000 inhabitants. In the summertime, it's like close to 400. Yeah. So I mean, give or take a bit, but it's a lot of people. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's unreal. The traffic is just horrendous, and so moving about is just not really great. Anyways, then, but most of the fun thing was going to Courchevel, because then we would be assigned certain persons of the family, and luckily I always got the 12-year-old kid that I had to babysit on the slopes. So I'd be skiing or snowboarding with this kid all day.
No shit.
It was amazing. So yeah, that was really good fun. And then still with the earpiece and everything else, and so that was one of the things. We found out that the things that we really needed to work on was the communication. Not really, it's because not that we were bad at it, but that would always fuck some people up, or they would like not hear, or they would be like not concentrating, or there would be something off,
When you are mentioning this, how stable in the meaning of personal changes was this team? Because you said there was like 25 people, and I guess that you were not working 25 at a time, but you had smaller teams of 5 to 10.
So exactly. So, but when 5 to 10. So when the Saudi princess was on the board, then it was always like more than 15 people. Obviously, we wouldn't be assigned to any of the staff of her staff, but family. And I think her mom never moved from the chalet. Never.
Okay.
She was in the chalet constantly. So we just needed one at the house. Again, there was no reason. We never saw anything.
And how, for example, let's say they were staying in hotels, or they had what kind of accommodation?
No. So they rented chalets, like
okay,
yeah.
So they rented the villa there or something.
A ski cabin. When I say cabin, it's not like a porta cabin. It's like like a massive.
And you stayed with them.
Yes.
Okay. So you were always really with them.
So they had, I think they had 3 chalets right next to each other.
Yeah.
And they rented all of them out. So some of the family would stay there, some, and the staff was in a completely different one. Yeah. We would then be in both houses, but we would have a separate house away from that. So we would only have like a few people on night shifts.
On duty.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they would be on all night.
Yeah.
And then we would be like, I think it was 100, 200 meters away of somewhere. But
it was your base. Yeah.
That was our base, yeah. A really, really smelly base, I can tell you that. I mean, like, there's a lot of men, you know. And
15 guys.
Oh, it's disgusting. And so you were glad to get out. and some of them...
To the slopes with the 12-year-old.
Hey, she had 4 kids. And so there were, I think we were like 7 of us, 6 or 7 of us, who were always constantly on the slopes. And we were the lucky ones. I can tell you that, because we were out and we were part of, so this is about like blending in as well. So we weren't like standing like afar, like looking into them only. We were sitting with them and eating and drinking water with them. So we would be in their group. And this was my first experience with somebody from the Middle East, actually. And I thought they would be like much more stern. I don't know, this veil and everything. She dropped everything. There was nothing there. The whole family didn't wear anything other than normal clothing. And so I was like, okay, that's a bit, okay.
Was her husband with her as well?
Never. Okay. Never.
Let's take care of the oil rigs.
Well, there was always, she had her brother with her. Of what we understood, but we never knew who they really were, all of them.
All right.
So, I mean, we just knew there was family.
Cousins, yeah.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah.
But so that was one of the fun parts of doing that job. And then we had a lot of other jobs that were just like just surveillance or just like actually just protecting a gate, stuff like that. Mm. Those were really horrible. And
meaning of boring?
Boring as hell. I mean, that just brought me back to like that was even worse than the army.
Queen's Guard.
Yeah, absolutely. It was horrible.
At least you could focus on your pace walking there, right?
Nobody would rat me out. That's for sure. Exactly. No. So
what kind of, because now this is just my assumption. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Africa was more action.
Oh yeah.
So
more tension.
More tension. So what kind of stuff you did there?
So we were mostly into. So we got called in to do an assignment where we had to protect, which sounded like I remember the briefing was like really like dun 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 dun, but it really wasn't dun 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 at all. It was really low tech, and we just had to make sure that their sugarcane plantation wasn't like burned down by competition.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was basically it. There had been a lot of the sugar cane or the sugar plantations there's like a rivalry a little bit apparently. I mean, we went to 2. There's Mali, and then there is Tanzania, and then there's a country right next to it as well. A little bit to I can't remember the name now. Oh, damn it. Anyways. We only went to Tanzania, however you want to. There are different ways of saying that. And then Mali. I'd say that Mali was a bit rough. That's the only place we actually had any issues or real issues, like firefights.
You had firefights?
We had firefights, but it was firefights so the plantation, they had already themselves cut out all the vegetation. You had the sugar canes and everything else. And then they made a massive like bulldozered vegetation away, so they could see people. coming in from.
Okay.
And but they hadn't done it very far. We're talking about like maybe 10 meters.
Mm-hmm.
But the sugar canes are quite high as well. So you have to have a perimeter. You have to have a perimeter guard. So you have to like walk around, and they didn't have any dogs, and they didn't have any trainers for that. And so they basically wanted us to come in and update their security. So we were there on rotation for 2 weeks at a time.
And how big was the plantation when you would like? So there's some.
I honestly, I can't. It's probably like, if I say 2 hectares, I don't know how big that is. Really, two football fields.
Okay, 2 football fields.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was what we
Like
were.
soccer.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah,
Okay.
soccer teams. Yeah, soccer fields. Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't big. It wasn't big, but he had other fields as well. But that was the one that was the closest to his competition. So he said
The highest risk.
yes.
Yeah.
So he wanted that one to be updated, and he was thinking that was his way of thinking, that if we protect this one with security and have upgrade everything and train the locals to do all this shit as well. So after we were gone, because we did this for maybe 3 months, as an assignment for 3 months, but we would only be in for 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And then hopefully his goal was to, after 3 months, he would have his own team to be able to do what we were doing. And then by then we would also have trained a canine trainer, or we would get a canine trainer in to train whatever dogs he get. Because he also didn't have any dogs. He wanted dogs, and he had some dogs, but they were just, you want us to train that thing?
So like
that
random
flea bag there.
just some random Yorkshire from
Absolutely,
from
it was
the street.
Yorkshire. Maybe it was just old.
Oh,
he
okay.
had one dog that he was. I want that dog to be able to protect. It was like, that ship has sailed. And because you got to get them young and wanting to. It also has to be a breed that's actually like into this.
Yeah.
You can train most dogs, but you need like for this kind of type of.
Like you're not going to train a retriever to be a guard dog when he loves all the people.
No, exactly. Hey, how are you? Oh, you got food? Great. So that was an experience. That was certainly an experience. I mean, in the beginning we had really strange accommodation, but we ended up having better accommodation than everybody else because we built it ourselves.
Oh, right.
It was quite funny, but it was in the middle of, I won't say in the middle of nowhere, but it was remote. So we had to bring everything.
Like rural area of.
Weird thing, it didn't feel remote, but it was remote. I mean, to get shops, there are no local shops, and in Africa you'd have pop-up stands all around, but they would be open like
whenever they want.
And yeah, exactly. There was no timing, it works like that,
And you got attacked.
So there was a few nights where they tried to test us or test because they knew that there was new people in the area, and we had been equipped with local armory, and so we had AKs and a few Brownings or something like that. Yeah, pistols, but AKs were what we got. It was almost easier to get like Kalashnikovs than pistols, like working pistols. Actually, we got a bunch of pistols, but we ended up with only 2 working high Brownings. Browning high.
So you get 15 pistols, make 2 of them work. Put the pieces together.
They were all different. We also had, we got a few Israeli guns, but they had been they haven't been cleaned, and they were really bad and in bad shape. And none of them were in good shape and reliable, and that's what you wanted.
Yeah.
And they would click sometimes and stuff like that. That could have been the ammunition, but and we were not gunsmiths like that. This is not working. We would give it to a gunsmith, but we didn't have one, so I was like, fuck. Obviously, we know how to manipulate and clean things, but if it doesn't work, we didn't have the tools to fix things.
Yeah.
Anyways, so they would come in and they would we would shine a light on them, or we could hear them. We would come out really loud, and then we could see them run away, shine a light on them like flashlights, and they would have the local to shout, some things. And, hey, listen, we're armed. Next time you come, we'll shoot. And next time they came, they shot.
So you gave them very friendly warning.
Yes, and then they took that warning and said, "Fuck that.
If you're shooting, I'm shooting first.
Let's see." So they came back, and then they started shooting, but from the fringe, like from the tree line. So you couldn't see them really; you could just see the muzzle flash. So we were like, "Okay, well, let's shoot back." So we shot back at the muzzle flashes because you can't see shit. And we had one. When I say night vision, that's an absolute overstatement. It was a starlight version. Have you ever heard about starlight? That's the first version that something they used in the Vietnam War, something like that.
Okay. So like the first prototype, basically.
It felt like that, yeah. And I believe it was a Russian thing. It was really
even better.
Yeah, no. But hang on,
you can't look at it through it.
You needed a lot of stars. You needed ambient light. You did need that, but
it needed to feed on at least some light.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But
maybe if it was Russian, you just needed more alcohol to see better.
Anyways, it was useless. So when we started looking in the tree line, you can't make anything out, and with what we had, anyways. But I would say unlucky, they started shooting, so we could see the position, and then we just started shooting back at the direction. So whether or not we hit anything, we don't know. Daylight, we went back, had a look to see. We didn't find anybody, but that happened 3 nights in a row. So
then they gave up.
They never came in. They didn't come out of that tree line. So
and what was their goal? To come and burn it down?
To take over.
To take over?
Yeah. They wanted to. So it was we believe it was competing sugarcane factory.
Playing online strategy game. This field is now mine.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm moving to
something like that. So this is what we think. It could have been the mob. He didn't pay them. But didn't tell us. Local. Yeah. There's so much local that you don't get all the information.
Obviously, he made himself to be the good guy in this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And at the time, he paid us, so we were there to help him.
Was it he probably was big in the business when he could afford you guys to pay for, right?
It wasn't cheap, and as far as I know, sugarcane isn't that profitable. But I think, honestly, I mean, you could speculate a lot of these things, but he had the money, and we did what he asked us to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you start thinking too much about it, then maybe it's not the profession you need to be in. Unless you're doing something that really messes with your moral compass, then, if you avoided that, hey, you can do anything.
It's a transaction for you.
Yeah. It was, for sure.
Tom, what happened next? Why you stopped with this when you had such a great time?
yeah, exactly. That happened when my ex-wife said, "By the way, I'm moving to Denmark with the kids." I was like, "Oh, okay." And honestly, that was from a blue, clear sky. Because I was oblivious. I mean, I was doing my own thing. I was being very selfish, and obviously, she didn't know in the beginning. Then she knew all of a sudden. There was an incident where it all came to light. A very unfortunate episode of where I'm like. So when I was traveling, you get your tags on the suitcase, and I would always remove them. That was like a procedure. I'll be dropped by one of my teammates, and then before that.
So she still thought
for a year,
most of the time.
No, for a year and a half.
year and a half, she
Yeah.
thought that you were traveling for your other business.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. And the other business was
And
actually
airsoft.
yeah, no, exactly, yeah, exactly. But and that was actually thriving. And at the same time, my credit card company was still rolling over. Obviously, less and less because I wasn't so involved. And I ended up selling those shares to my partner when I felt that this is what I wanted to do full time with security. Obviously, that part, my wife wasn't. She was like, "Why are you doing that? I mean, you're not earning, that much." Because honestly, the credit card billing was just that was really good money,
Yeah.
and I didn't have to do much for it. But I felt I had much more purpose what I was doing what I was doing, and that thing I kind of, as I said, that moral compass was getting into line, and I was like, you know what, it's not. Is it worth it? Like making all this money, but feeling a bit sour about it at the same time. And the hassle I was beginning to get, or we were beginning to get from the credit cards, excuse me, from the credit card companies, were making it more and more difficult for us and freezing our accounts. And we had to explain to our clients that, oh, sorry, well, it's going to take a while before you can get any payouts because we need them to be unfrozen before you can get it. It was just getting a bit like, so yeah, that stopped. And then a year and a half after, so that thing about the credit card, the tags on the suitcases and bags and stuff like that, I always remove them, and then everything was fine because I was just traveling in country. And then I landed one time, and then my phone had blown up with messages and calls. Wow, what's happening? Where are you? I can't get Hill. Your son is at the hospital. What? So I called as soon as I came. I said, I'm on my way. We're at this hospital. What's wrong? So, well, your son had not a seizure, but there was an incident. So I go straight to the hospital, and I get dropped there, and then I get see my family, and then everything was okay. Everything was okay, and we all came home, and then I was carrying my son into the house, and my wife took the rest of the luggages and stuff all the luggage in, and then she's like, "What's that from?" And I forgot to take the tags away because I've been in a stress mode, or I forgot about it.
Different mind space.
Yeah, totally different. And then she's like, "Yeah, didn't I tell you I was so and so and so and so?" And she looked up where that was from. It was like Morocco. Yeah. We had to stop. They didn't. There was no direct flights and shit like that back then to where we need to go. So she could see that it was like fuck. So that was a very long conversation, and obviously, I mean, I was an asshole. There's no point, denying that I was very selfish. But we got over that. So she knew. But obviously I was still traveling a lot, and that didn't change. And she just got bored of not having a husband around more than, when I come home, it's more like a partner. Like, hey, how are you? Kiss. And I spent all the time with the kids for the time I actually home. Because if I wasn't on an assignment, I was training.
Yeah.
So...
And have you done also some fitness with them? Or that was your part? So
So one of the things that was hard was, we talked about it briefly, train us, and everybody, we were lucky to have some special forces in the teams and stuff. And they had some run-ins with Krav Maga and some other very aggressive martial arts, but we needed something that more like close combat, because not more. Krav Maga is more, but we needed something.
Can't get any closer.
No, exactly. But we needed something maybe a step down, where we could not go all out on them, just more pacify them and then walk on. Because we would normally have if we were out and needed to have close contact, then it would be in a public place. And your client just needs to get away. Basically.
Yeah, you're not breaking a street fight there.
No,
you just want to...
Yeah, pacify, bam, down, go. And I also think that the guys that knew about Krav Maga. I think there was something about them not always being available because they had multiple. They had a lot of assignments with other companies as well. So they were like, I won't say the outriggers, but they were not like in the core group of who always being sent out. They did more action stuff than we did, for sure. So we needed somebody who could come in, and that's how we got to talk about this as well. You know, that back then we didn't have anybody who was, unless you were a government entity, you couldn't get somebody like to like, oh, I want to do this. Like, you can come and train this group. It also was a bit suspect. Like, oh, what are you? Like, some people had like the wrong idea of like private military contractors. You know, oh, mercenaries,
private army.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I don't want anything to do with that. No. So all that ordeal about getting what it is we do and what we don't do and how we do it, all these things across to people is just it consumes a lot of time, and not everybody understands it. And back then, anyways, and then they would get all these mixed messages and from Iraq and everything else. You know, that there was a time where Blackwater, Blue, that there's a lot about them, the cowboys, and yeah. So that gave it a bad rep as well, and there's a few things. But
yeah, because Blackwaters was basically, they kind of proved to be everything what the people were afraid it might become.
There were some elements there who didn't need to be there, for sure. Yeah. I mean, well, history has taught us that. And no matter how, I mean, I think the first incident was with I read something about the first that really blew up was with, I think it was 2 Navy SEALs and somebody else who got hung from a bridge. Really bad incident. Scott Helveston, I think his name was.
I don't know.
Anyways, it's really, I mean, he was a really, he was a, I would say, I don't know him. I didn't know him. But from what I've read and seen and everything else, he was in the media a lot, actually. He had his own PT program that he was selling online, and after he was done with the Navy SEALs. And and then he went into PMCing. Yeah. But I had a really shit outcome there. But that was also Blackwater. So that was, it seemed to be like a cowboy.
They kind of did it by their own rules.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, it looked like it, for sure.
At least it looked like it.
Yeah.
Who knows what really?
Yeah, so it was difficult to find somebody who come and train what we were looking for. I obviously from the Danish army, I had the as I said, you could do a lot of different things in the Danish army. So you could get diplomas for different things. So skydiving diploma, combat swimmer, PT. So PT, I was certified PT. So I started doing a program for all our guys for for the PT part. Obviously, mostly calisthenics and stuff like that, because we need to be able to do that when we were out as well. I mean, when you
what's the point of programming gym sets and crazy equipment when you don't have it
so
out?
It needed to be something like that, and then like some light forms of TRX was good as well, but it was like very simple TRXing, like with the body weight and stuff like that.
It's just the gymnastic rings.
Exactly.
With a fancy strap.
Yeah, exactly. Adjustable. But so that was what I could contribute with. But also, we then got a few jiu-jitsu trainers and some. We got one kickboxing trainer as well, who would like teach us kickboxing. It was also great training, to be fair.
And when you were doing the program, you were training with the guys, or so you just like you did the workouts together.
We did all of it together. Okay. I mean, on the days we could. But yeah, and sometimes obviously because it was different timings in the teams, or like, so we would do it at different times. But there would always be a sheet ready for them. Say, this is what you need to do today, workout wise.
Because obviously there is a lot of prep involved in existing this way, right? Like when you're not deployed or whatever we call it, when you not
have assignments,
when you don't have assignment, you training.
Yeah.
Like, did you have some basic salary, or how did it work? Or you were only paid for assignments?
So we were basically, because I was doing all the PT sessions, I got paid for that.
Okay. So you got paid for that?
I got paid for that.
Extra.
And then, but basically you only got paid every time you got on assignment. Yes. I mean, so it was a lot less than the credit card billing business did, but I was happy. I was happy doing what I'm doing, just like now, right?
It wasn't about the money.
It wasn't about, no, it certainly wasn't about, I mean, the money was good. Don't get me wrong. When we were out, it was good. It was certainly more of like a calling, or like, this, you felt at home doing, when you have that, then you should be happy.
And then
you
stopped?
Yeah, because then she announced that, actually I'm going back to Denmark and that's it. I'm done. I was like, what? So she left with the kids. At that time I had 2 kids, and I was like, okay. So I was determined to try to make this work. So I sold my shares again in my training weapon facility, and I resigned from the group, or the groups, after 3 months. So it took some time to get everything rounded up, paperwork, making sure I could transfer everything, and then I went back to Denmark, and that was tough. That was really, really tough, because it was 2008-ish. Massive recession just hit.
Yeah.
No work to be had, and I hadn't thought about this. I mean, had I known this before, I probably wouldn't have gone back home. But then again, I wanted my family. That was my base, and it's always been like that. We were together for like 14 years, so that's a lot of time.
So how long you were doing this?
No, so I was with her for 14 years.
Oh, with her. Okay,
yeah.
Okay,
so
okay.
I all in all, I did the security. I did security for about 9 years.
Oh, 9 years.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Because we kind of made it sound like it was just, like, I got in and a couple assignments. Okay, 9 years.
9 years. 9 years of going in and out and doing things. Obviously, things evolved, as most things do. And, but other assignments outside. Had one in South America as well. Central America. Which was really interesting. And I mean, so it evolved, and the company that I was with evolved, and everything, they bought better, like, training equipment. And I'm now talking about kill houses, we're talking about cars, we're talking about, weapons to train with at the range and stuff like that. Even though we could only use weapons when we're outside of France. But
that's a paradox.
But again, the vision was to be able to go to other.
But
countries.
When you were doing a kill house, or when you were going to a shooting range, you were at least on a shooting range training with live rounds.
Rounds, yeah.
Okay.
The kill house, it was we would do the training to start off with airsoft, and then we would have finish it off with live ammo.
Okay.
So we would go through that many times before we actually felt that, okay, well, now we can do this, because
you're crossing people's path. Yeah,
exactly. So you wanted to make sure that, and we had we called him Jew. We had this walkway on top of the kill house, so he could see what was going on. But even him, when you have muscle up, that was massive for But he was up there, so that was his risk, because we needed to have them up. We didn't have them down.
Yeah,
muscle up every time. So that was one thing. But he was always there to guide and shit. And when he felt that we were ready, then we went and went for live rounds. but yeah, but it continued to be really, really interesting, you know. So what I liked the most of all of that was actually the close protection part, because that human element of it, when you're with this person and you need to protect this person, where you're walking in public and you are trying to, this person is probably shopping or is like shopping or just walking down. You want to make sure that you guide people away from this person, from the path that the person is walking. And we would be positioned that we had one next to the rabbit or the VIP. And then we'd had one or two people in front and one in the back, depending on honestly, depending on how much money that client was paying. Because you don't throw people out, because we were expensive as you know, items to put into
of course.
But that would be the norm, I would say. So let's say that she's walking against the window or he's walking against the window, because we would always try to make the person walk on the inside, because all the dangers are coming from the roadside, mostly, you would assume. So we have one person walking next to the VIP on the outside, and then you'd have two people in front, one exactly the same path as the VIP on the same, mostly trying to be, and then the other person in the middle of the footway or the walk path. So anybody coming close in there with very small movements with your shoulders, or just mimicking small things, like small movements that only your unconsciousness will catch. You know, when you walk, your eye will catch something, and then you react to it. Unconsciously, you just move away. If I go in like this, you will try to go to the outside of me. If there is something if there's a window here or a door. The small movements, or like you'd go down and tie your shoelaces, but place yourself in such a way that it would be more cumbersome for you to go on the inside of me than the outside. Small movements, small things like that.
So you navigate the other people.
Exactly. So I would make sure that they would navigate outside of the path of the, you know, and if they for some reason were intent on going on the other side, or they were looking at the window as well and didn't want to move and they didn't see or whatever, then I knew I had the next person or my another partner at the window and could then more or less forcibly try, like move that person far enough out till then the VIP would be able to move, and then the one that was next to the rabbit or the VIP could then move that person along even more. But those small things were always like, I enjoyed that part, because you had to be on a swivel on a head, you know, like, and see everything without moving your head like that. I was just moving with the show, but you really had to have your eyes everywhere. And then that's also when the radio communication was really, really important. Not only that, but if you know, we don't see too much behind us. We make sure that we have like a 180 like this. Like if this is the wall, then 180 like that. Mm-hmm. We don't see anything here. We don't concentrate on that because we have other people. I had another two people behind me that could deal with that. So anybody, if we were stopping, if the VIP stopped, well, then I couldn't just continue walking. I need to stop as well. So not that communication is very hard to like deliver, but communicating over radio, it can be tough sometimes. So that's where airsoft would be so great, and we used that with great success, and it helped us so much, not just communication wise, but also movement wise. Simple, cover fire, move. All these things, you try to arrange. You have a target, okay, then you move around, or all that. Radio was just, you could have the shittiest handguns or whatever replicas you were, but if you could communicate properly and deliver precise, sorry, downrange, then for a few bullets keep people going down, then that was just so effective, and we had so much fun doing it. You know, it was just so I really felt that airsoft was a great training tool for us on many occasions for many things, and also it's a good, you know, social environment. Yeah. You know that you have fun with the guys.
Community.
Yeah, communities, everything like that. Anyways, I digress. Just got to think about that. But yeah, no. Then I went back to Denmark, and I was just, it didn't really work between my ex-wife and I. And I took a job as a window washer for like a few months in the winter time. And that's just, yeah, you still need to wash windows in the winter.
There was like a self-punishment.
That was, I didn't think about it like that, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, I was absolutely dying. No, so, one of the tricks about washing windows in the winter is adding a lot of spirits in the water so it doesn't freeze. But if you and you can't do that with massive gloves on either. You can't move your hands the way you should. So you dip your hand in that bucket and you get spirits on your hands. And then the next day you wake up with hands like this and you can't move them back in again because they're just so stiff and sore and, they get so dry. So they just started and the cold. Oh, it was horrible. So you found a compromise about gloves and not gloves and gloves not gloves. And then when you're driving in your car, like having the heater on and a normal water with a bucket with water, dip it in and dry it off. Oh God. Anyways, that was horrible. And my marriage wasn't working out really, unfortunately. So I ended up moving to Africa. I got an assignment there. And
still from the PMC?
No. Well, yes, it was as a private. Well, I called it a security consultant.
Okay, security. Okay, so you became a security consultant.
I did, but I became a travel buddy. So I would travel with my client around Pan Africa. So I was stationed in Kenya.
You had some knowledge of the environment already, right? Some experience from.
Yeah. But. Yeah, say yes, but I would say I got a lot more. It was a totally different working environment that I was doing now, but it was great fun. I was there for quite a while, and then so traveling Pan Africa, like the Congos, Nigeria.
How you got to that through the contacts before?
It was a Danish company, yeah. No, it was a Danish company. So I had some friends who heard about a company that needed, they were looking for security.
Oh, okay.
And then, that job that was really good. So, but all of a sudden that guy that was following, he got fired. And then that was fine. I mean, shit happens, but we've been traveling a lot and so basically knew his job very well. Mm-hmm. And I came to talk to the owners, and then they say, hey, hang on. Any chance you want to take his job? I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Really?
Yeah. So
they gave you the job.
So they fired him, and they fired him, and we were waiting for his replacement. And then I was like, okay. And I was stationary. I was like, can I go home? No, don't know. He's coming now. No, okay. Can I go after another week? Can I go? Because I needed to go home and see the kids. Because normally I would be working 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Okay.
By that time I'd probably been like waiting a month. I hadn't gone in, and they were waiting for his replacement. They just hadn't found anybody apparently, but they didn't tell me that much. Sorry. So I was like, okay, what is it? I can't remember how the conversation went, but basically they asked me if I wanted to do his job. Yeah. And they saw, hey, we don't need to hire, any security because you're it. So it's a cost-saving experiment as well.
Oh, I was just about to ask if they paid you also as a self-security.
In what world would that happen?
Yeah,
honestly.
In fair world.
Yeah, exactly. Fairness.
No way.
No, not a chance. But that was actually my way into mainstream mainstream work, where I came back into. I just transitioned out of security because that was a project director position.
Okay.
So I did that for about 2 years, and then I met my second ex-wife.
Second ex-wife,
yeah, in Kenya. and then she got pregnant very quickly, and then I moved to Dubai, and here I am 12 years after. Now, so I stopped what I was doing there, and I needed to go to Dubai because obviously she was pregnant, and we're gonna see if that could work out. And
she was from where?
England. So she lived in Dubai.
Oh, okay. You only met her in Kenya.
Yes. I only met her in Kenya. Over Tuskers. That's a local beer brand.
Okay.
Tuskers. Tusker. Anyways, yeah. So I was like, and then obviously we've been traveling back and forth a few times, so I knew of Dubai and seen all the glitter and everything else. Oh, that's quite nice. Little did I know that it's actually just the same work mentality that it is in Africa, just much fancier surroundings.
With the glitter.
Yes, with the glitter, yes. And then I got a new job here, and because of my work history, then I got a job in oil and gas. But my area would be Iraq and Kurdistan.
Also security?
No, as a business development manager.
Okay.
But I was the only sucker who was willing to go there.
What an asset.
Yeah, exactly. And when they saw my CVs, again, so do you need protection? What do you think this is? And it's not that I've come across as some kind of Superman or anything like that. It's just like, you clearly don't know what's going on over there, do you? Anyways, that was what I was thinking. I didn't say that, and they weren't so blunt in terms of like, oh, you don't need security. But so we will look for security, and then when I asked them what kind of security they found, they're like, we haven't really found anything other than like big scale. Like, I don't need that. Oh, God. You can see because that would just be a shitload of money.
Like that would pretty suck if you're assigned somebody who is way worse in the security stuff than yourself, and you will even teach them how to do the job.
The thing is, so I had a few people that I knew was in country in Basra, and what they were suggesting is just like, you know what, if you can, try to get some shit car, not anything like, wow, low vis. Like, you don't need. Honestly, it's safe right now to just go low vis, and then don't drive convoys. Just you and the driver. That's it, and sit in the front seat. Don't sit in the back seat.
Like, basically, don't make yourself look important.
Exactly, and try to hide your white face.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and that was fine. I mean, that was fine. That was interesting. I think that. Yeah, that was really interesting, actually.
But so you were based in Dubai, but you were going to Iraq.
Yeah. So I had the Northern Emirates and Iraq and Kurdistan. But I was actually traveling mostly to Kurdistan, which was that was quite interesting. It was a beautiful country. It is. But that all stopped very, very quickly, to be fair. In 2014, I think it was 2014 when they took Mosul. When ISIS went and took Mosul, and they were headed for the capital in Kurdistan. Then that's when they start. Okay, because it's only 80 kilometers as far as I remember. and you could, and CNN, I think it was CNN or some new broad new or some news station was sending live pictures from a helicopter, and you could see the convoy of ISIS cars like just.
And you're like, oh shit!
Oh, they're coming. People were
time to move. Yeah,
time to move. I think a lot of people already moved when they could see the fighting at Mosul was going to go one way.
Okay.
But I stayed because I had already made a lot of appointments. And I only had...
I thought you'll say friends. Local warlord.
Yeah, no, not really. But I had made lots of appointments with local companies, and obviously the drilling companies and so forth, because of what we do, third-party inspection companies that I worked for. So they were obviously running a skeleton crew, but they still needed to have inspections done, and that's what I was waiting for. So all I needed was a few. I need to come back with something. So I stick it out for a bit longer, and then when they were actually on the way, I was like, okay, time to get to the airport. And there was a lot of people at the airport waiting to go. And you could see a couple of Hercules on the tarmac, military, American Hercules with the engines running constantly. And I was told they basically run 24/7, but they don't. But I mean, they're always like ready to go. Those days, anyways. That was so you knew something was.
But the exit was smooth. Like you,
I have to say, it was very eventless. Yeah. I mean, there was nothing, but it was. You could tell that everybody was a little bit like, okay, something's coming. But Erbil is built in a way. Like it has a lot of rings. I mean, the whole city is built up of rings, and they're quite.
It's annoying. Keep going.
Yeah, no, they're quite a proud people, and they're like warrior people as well. So they had a lot of people, a lot of warriors waiting for them a bit outside town. They were camping out there. But nothing, I mean, they never really came because they ran out of fuel. Logistically, they were high on winning at Mosul, and then, let's go get more. You could just imagine.
There are gas stations on the way.
They didn't check. They didn't have the logistic, to like, they didn't have gas coming in. It was a mix of that. That's what the report says anyways.
That's what the paradox, right? You were working for oil and gas there. They didn't come there because of the...
No, it was quite interesting. But I think they stopped 30 kilometers outside of Erbil, and they didn't really come any closer. There were some hit and runs later on where they came in and then bombed a few things and then out again. But there was some discussion about saying there might have been like local warlords using that as an excuse to try and get rid of other people.
Oh, right.
But I'm not in the know of that. But that's what certain people are saying. So,
anyways. And then you left the corporate world, or not really?
Not that quickly. Not that quickly. Well, I think I went another 2 years in oil and gas. Mm-hmm. But the whole time I'd been doing that, I'd actually been coaching some of my friends. I've been PTing some of my friends.
Oh, okay.
Whenever I was home. And I liked that. I've always been active. And and that kind of escalated. And I liked it. I like seeing people getting to a point where, oh shit, I can do that. That this self-discovery thing. You push people, and then all of a sudden, hey, this is I'm actually stronger than I thought I was, or I can run faster or longer, or whatever it is. And like just discovering something new about themselves, or when they reach a goal, how that changes them, the personality they just get more. The confidence can change completely. you know, and obviously mental health is a massive thing, you know. I think that's one thing that COVID taught us, that, like, you know, mental health is everything when it comes down to it. If you don't have a good mental health, then your life quality, well, I mean, it's hard. Everybody has hardness and difficulty.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
You know, the physical is influencing the mental, and the mental is influencing the physical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So balancing that out is obviously is something that needs to be handled. But and just that journey that most people find themselves on, when they discover, hang on, I should actually take care of myself. I might live longer. I might be happier.
So you believe that there is no mental health without physical activity as well, yeah?
I believe that has a big say in it, yeah, for sure. I mean, some people come up with disadvantages that they can't be as active as they want, but as soon as they're doing something, they feel better. Everybody feels a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, now we are not talking about to what degree.
No,
it's
okay.
just that doing anything
Sure.
physical.
Absolutely. I mean, the dopamine and all the endorphins that gets released and stuff like that, you know, the way that it affects the brain, amazing. Yeah, for sure. No.
And learning new things.
That's the thing, learning new things. And you're never too old to learn new things. I mean, that saying, oh, old dogs can't learn new things or new tricks. You know, they
can.
Yeah, of course they can.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of mindset, you know, perseverance.
They want to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, see, that's it. And then I started my own company when oil and gas just went down. Then I started my own company as ISO certifications, which was a part of the portfolio that I was dealing with when I was in oil and gas. So certifying companies for different ISO standards, like health and safety, quality management, and
security as well, or not?
Not security, no. I think the closest thing we got to it was internet security.
Oh, okay.
But no.
Well, that was your expertise before as well, right? Partly.
Yeah. You can say that. To some, the scrubbing.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was fun. And then we won a tender with Expo very early on. So we worked for them for a long time, certifying all the companies that they had under their umbrella, working in their on Expo City. That was a lot of work. So that was more worker welfare. So there wasn't really ISO certification by itself, but it was more about trying to certify companies that they were doing best practices when it comes to their employees, the blue collar workers, that they actually had accommodations that had live, when I say live, but they had running hot and cold water, they had AC and enough personal space. I mean, some of the places I got into, like a room like 3x3, and it housed 9 people. I mean, how is that even possible? Bunk beds stacked on top of each other, like up all over to the ceiling. So the last person maybe had that much space to sleep in. You know, that was horrible. Living conditions massively improved in the last 4 years for blue collar workers living in accommodations, because if they didn't tick all our boxes, we would then go back to Expo and say, okay, this is not right, and then they would be stopped from entering the worksite until they had remedied or rectified whatever was wrong.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was what Expo also did for Dubai, I would say. I mean, the whole UAE is slowly changing to that stage where you know, the recognition of every human has rights.
At the end, you're improving the lives of people.
Yes.
Through these standards.
Yeah, absolutely.
And are you still involved with this company?
No, I'm not. No. So during that time, I was actually, to be fair, I got tired of it. Not the feeling of trying to improve people's living conditions and overall life, but it was just a lot a lot of, I have to say, it was a lot of paperwork. And that really brought me down. It just drained me. And the only way that I felt that I could cope with that was training and coaching. That gave me such a high. So I started coaching every morning from 5 a.m. till 9 at a gym here in Dubai. And I felt good about that, and that made me cope with all the other shit I have to the rest of the day. So I was done like maybe 9 o'clock in the evening.
So you got into like full-time coaching career, if we say that.
Yeah.
First as a coping mechanism.
Yeah, it was like that.
To decompress from all the other shit.
Absolutely. And it worked, and I was happy. I mean, I was tired, and I don't sleep much anyways. But I got to bed at like maybe 10 o'clock in the evening, and then I slept until 4:30 in the gym for 5:15, and then just on. And I loved it. I really did. And then now for a year and a half ago, I moved to another gym, a bit more CrossFit kind of workout we're doing now, and then hopefully.
And before you were doing more like a classic bodybuilding kind of, or what was it?
I would say it was more of the line of like F45-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you were doing like group sessions?
Yeah, group sessions.
Oh, group sessions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I prefer group sessions to the one-on-one sessions, to be fair. One-on-one, you'll be able to see much more progress quicker, for sure, because you're on that person, constantly. So that's good. But the bad thing is that, bad things, but it's just, I just enjoy group settings more overall,
But I mean, I know what you mean when you say that you can see the progress more, but I would say that that's not necessarily the truth, because sometimes one-on-one, like I see one-on-one as a necessity for people who have some very specific needs. Yeah?
Yes.
Or very specific goals, or they, for example, are shy. They don't want to be in front of many people. Yeah.
No.
But the group can be, again, it's not a rule, but for some people it can be so great of an environment that they actually push harder.
Yeah, for sure. There's you and I as coaches, and you got the pressure from the group.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because they are like, come on, you can do better.
Yeah.
But you just feel it yourself. You want to be, or sometimes I want to be, he or she can do that. Maybe I can do that.
Yeah.
Or I want to do that. Or I want to perform better.
Or like you see Mike squatting 140. It's like, okay, well, I can't do 140, but I can try 100. You know what I mean? Like just the vibe of let's push.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Everybody's pushing. I want to push too. Yeah. Yeah,
but
for sure.
Ups and downs. Each has its own benefits.
I feel that the one-on-one is great, as you say, if they have specific needs. The one-on-one, I would say I'm more motivated if I know the client has a plan or a goal to reach. If it's just like day in, day out, if that's when it becomes a little bit more like, oh, hang on, sorry, I'm 5 minutes late. Sorry, I'm 10 minutes late. Sorry, I'm this and that. I mean, that happens more frequently when the client doesn't have a specific goal. There's nothing driving them.
Yeah, they're not driven. Yeah.
And I don't like that. In a group environment, I'm not saying I get to push everyone, but I do. That's the thing.
But yeah.
Obviously, you feel you get the feeling quite quickly.
Of course, like the split of the attention is happening. That's not there as much.
No,
obviously. However, the peer pressure in a positive way
helps.
Plus the
AIDS,
overall atmosphere. Yeah.
No, I definitely feel that group training is for the majority the best workout for the majority of people who doesn't work out that much. It's a great way to get into it. Absolutely. You just need to find a place where they're actually attentive. Yeah. You don't see coaches on the phones and like.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing really bugs me more than that. But that's a classic thing, isn't it? So no, I like it. And I'm happy now. I'm doing this full time. Certainly not the same money, but I'm happier, and mentally, I'm where I want to be. So yeah, I'm happy about that. Yeah. I wake up every morning 3:30. You never see me angry. Just because I need to get up at that time. Never. It never happens. I mean, I can have a bad day, of course, like anybody else. But I'm not happy. I'm not unhappy. I'm not angry about getting up to work. I look forward to getting into work. And that's rare for me and for quite a lot of people I know, actually. You know, they are like, oh, fuck. When it's the weekend and you check it, oh, it's only Monday. Okay, great.
You know, people... So many people already consider waking up tired and unmotivated as a standard that they don't understand that that's not right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it shouldn't be the case.
No, but I mean, I don't think they can see because they haven't tried the other thing yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's you know, if they have a family and everything else, you kind of like, shit, I need to do this, but maybe find another job that actually makes you happy, because if you're happy, guess what? The family will feel it. It's a contagious thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And when I just look at everything what we went through, yeah, like so many decisions you did career-wise were in a sense of income, maybe step back.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean...
However... it always was for, let's say, higher purpose of you balancing out some other stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say that my life has always been... other people have said I'm quite adventurous, and I can see what they mean.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's never been like for the adventure. It's just become, oh, that could be fun. Let's try that.
Well, that's how the adventure starts, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not that I plan on going anywhere anytime soon, but I think that I have experienced a lot, and I'm not done experiencing anything. I mean, I want more, you know, but I'm quite happy where I am. I'm content. So I'm not feeling I'm missing out on anything. I don't have that. I need to do this. Obviously, I got kids very early. So I kind of, you know, that's done. Obviously, I'm happy I have my kids, and you know that's just a progression. But but I don't have anything else that I have goals in life I want to finish. Of course, otherwise, if you don't have any goals, then you kind of stagnant, and then nothing happens. So you need to have a drive for something, but you need to find out what is it you're driving towards. So that's why you need motivation, but most of all, you need discipline. And that is, we get back to Jocko, that preaches that all the time. And and also that he has that military background. So I feel that I understand what he's talking about. And the fact that the way that he has managed to take that into the corporate world, I fully follow all of that. And I feel, I mean, I've written. I haven't written anything yet. I've read.
Maybe you should.
I've read so many books about management and all these, leadership books and stuff like that, and they all they make sense to some extent. Of course they do, but nothing has been as personal and as like ringing true as what he's been saying in the way that he's been saying it. There's loads of other writers who are like saying great things, and there are also a lot of other people who are just bullshit. Yeah. But you only know this when you've been through a lot of things. Then you can.
I think it's like also. I bet you know Goggins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Goggins, Jocko, like they're extremely relatable because you know that they're not just saying it, but they lived it.
Yes.
You know, like there is the full-on proven by experience truth behind all what they are
Yeah.
saying.
And what I like is that it might not have the experience that they're talking about doesn't necessarily need to be in the corporate world, but they've managed to do the transition and say, well, hang on, that worked in the military, and when decision making often is life and death. It certainly isn't in corporate, but if you can take that kind of mentality into the corporate, Jesus, you're gonna crush it.
You know what Simon Sinek? You know him?
No.
Okay, so that's he has a couple of books.
Okay.
Also about leadership and so on, and he was working very closely with the military, and he's saying, I'll send you some links and lectures.
Please,
he did some TED Talks as well.
Okay.
He's saying that, in corporate, people are absolutely willing to sacrifice other people for gains.
Yeah.
And military is exact opposite.
Yeah.
In military, the people are the highest valued asset.
Yeah.
And you stand there for people next to you and your comrades. So
it's very true.
Yeah, so that people got it backwards in the corporate. Like for the gains, we'll sacrifice. No, that shouldn't be the case, because then you will not, like, how are you going to trust a leader who is doing this?
Yeah.
Like, even you are the one who stayed. Well,
are you staying for this week?
Safe, or
do you have my best interests at heart? No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, no, leadership style is obviously it's varied, and everybody does it differently. But with that in mind, if you have that, if that's the core, then I won't say it's hard to go wrong.
Yeah, if you follow just a couple of key principles, then you can create your own rules around it.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's good.
Tom, is there anything you want to add?
No, it's been a pleasure. As I said, I was a bit apprehensive.
You said you don't know what you will be talking about.
Yeah,
we are over 3 hours now.
Shit. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
I'm sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. It's amazing. It was very entertaining for me.
I'm happy that you enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself very much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Absolutely, with you. I felt more lead to you because I was kind of monologuing there for a while.
That's the whole idea. I get sometimes, especially for my brother, the highest critique. Yeah. He's like, let them speak. Don't talk too much. He's always telling me, But I was like,
good advice.
But
good advice.
But at the same time, like, I want to,
No,
like, I don't want you to feel like you are interrogated.
No,
I want it to be like
I didn't. As I said in the beginning, I was like, certain things I might not be able to say. But I mean, hey, I think that the main things came out, and life lessons, and no, it was interesting as well. Going over these things with you, because there are many things I had forgotten about as well, and maybe that I hope I haven't been jumping too much back and forth.
No, it's fine. Timeline's good.
Well, yeah, all right.
Timeline's good. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.